Chapter 1893.
I'll be done soon.
Godfather,
There's no
hearing
rush.
this word.
Take your
Song
time.
Qingshu's expression
Looking at her excited
turned
back.
strange.
Song Qingshu
This word had
didn't
too
follow
many
her in.
meanings in the future.
After all,
causing
she would
one's
definitely need to
imagination
pack some
to
of her
run
private
wild.
clothes.
What's wrong?
It wouldn't be convenient.
Are you
for
unwilling?
him. He stood in the
Tashtish
yard,
looked at him
leisurely
with a
waited.
strange expression.
However,
Song
he waited
Qingshu
for almost an
laughed.
hour.
Although I feel
he
like
saw
I'm
the
being
rouge
called
and
old.
powder she had
How can I
carefully
be
selected,
unwilling?
the bottles
Thinking
he
of
didn't
the
know
girl,
the name of,
calling him
and the
Godfather,
large bags of
he
clothes.
felt that it must be a great
He didn't know whether to
feeling.
laugh or
I'm not going to
cry.
talk to you anymore.
As expected,
I'm going to arrange
women
for
are
someone
all
to
like this
investigate
in
Xiao
every
Zhao's
generation.
whereabouts.
Shin
I was
Biju
looking
in
in
the
the
wrong
wrong
muttering,
place,
and
no
said
wonder
with
I
some
couldn't
embarrassment,
find her.
I've made you wait a
Tashtish
long time.
said and left
Fortunately,
anxiously.
it's not at home.
Leaving Song
Otherwise,
Qingshu
there would be
alone in the
more.
wind.
Song
Right.
Qingshu
Song
finally
Qingshu
remembered
laughed bitterly,
that she was the daughter
but he couldn't
of a
stop
wealthy
her
family
from saving his
and had
daughter.
grown up with a
So he
silver
returned to
spoon in her mouth.
Tangquo's residence.
Her family
Back
loved
at Tangquo's
Tangquo's
residence,
so she naturally
issued
had
an order to
everything she
summon the
wanted.
officers of the
I just don't know
loyal
if those
army
things
he
are
had
still
groomed.
there in the
The
Shan
chief,
Gardens.
Monk
Shen
Wanyan
Biju
Shun,
and his
suddenly
deputies
said
Wanyan
sadly,
Gang.
You'll know if
Pusan
they're
Fan,
still there when you go
Hashir
back
lies
and
and
see for yourself.
as well as Lieutenants
Seeing that she was thinking about
the extermination of the Shun family.
Song
Qingshu
Qingshu comforted
Hu
her.
Chajin and
I
others.
thought that I would die
These
in a
people
foreign
had
land
shown
for
in the
the rest
battle
of my
against the
life.
Southern Song
I didn't think that I would have the
northern
chance to
expedition
return
to the Shun
and
Gardens
earned enough military
Brother Song,
merits.
thank you.
Promotion was a
Shin
matter of
Biju
course,
bowed as she
and with
spoke.
the great Buddha Song
Biju, don't be so
Qingshu as their
courteous.
backer.
They
Song
quickly became the
Qingshu helped her
backbone
up.
of the army.
It won't be too
They
late
were
to thank
originally
me
active
when
in
you actually
defending the
returned to the
Southern
Shun
Song
Gardens.
Dynasty's
On
northern expedition,
being supported
but
by a
following
young
the
man,
peace talks between
Shun
the two
Bijuan's
countries,
heartbeat
the
sped up.
situation at the
You
border
guys?
stabilized.
At this time,
and most of
a
them
surprised
returned
and
to the capital
uncertain
to
voice
report on their
came from
duties.
outside the door.
Song Qingshu
The two turned their
received
heads
them
to
and saw that the
familiarize
palace
himself
maid
with
was
them,
standing at the
and
door
also to let them
and
know
looking at
about
them
the
with shock.
upcoming battle.
Shin
against the
Bijuan's
Mongols.
face reddened.
By the time
and
he
she
finished
quickly
meeting
took
the
a step
generals,
back to
the
separate
sky had
from the
already
other.
darkened.
Song
Returning
Qingshu
to the
didn't
inner
care,
residence
and lightly
Goodbye,
said to the
and
palace
Wan
maid,
Yinping,
I have an
already
imperial
prepared
edict to
table
take
dishes
Hui
for
Fei and Yang Yang
Finally,
out of the
I
palace.
can steal half a day
During
of
this
leisure.
time.
I don't
You
have
should
to
act
deal with
as
official
usual
duties
and pretend that
meet
Yang
with those
Yang
ministers
is still here.
I feel so
There will
relaxed.
soon be an imperial
Goodbye
edict
stretched her
that
back,
no one is allowed
revealing
to
her
visit.
alluring
You don't have to
curves.
worry about
Song
secrets being
Qingshu
leaked.
said
You're
apologetically.
taking Yang Yang.
It must have
out
been
of the
hard on
palace?
you these days.
The palace maid
There's
was
no need to say
dumbstruck.
such things.
This was
between us.
beyond her understanding.
Finish the soup first.
It had to be known that the
Goodbye
women in the
smiled
cold palace
warmly
would
and
either
poured a
grow
bowl of
old
soup
alone or be
Wan
given
Yinping
10
said from
feet
the side
of white
It's
silk.
rare for sisters
There was
to
a
have
small
half a
chance
day's
that
free
they would
time,
rise again,
but she
personally
personally went to the
never
kitchen
heard of an
and made a
imperial
table of dishes for
concubine
you.
being allowed
Song
out of the palace.
Qingshu was shocked.
You guys,
You can just leave these things
The
to
palace maid
servants.
asked in
Why
a
do you have to do it
trembling voice.
yourself?
She had
Besides,
originally
it's
thought
not
that the
convenient
man
for
in
you to
front
do
of
it
her
yourself.
was the emperor's
Goodbye rubbed her
trusted
lower
bodyguard or
abdomen.
something.
How
But
could
no
it be
matter
so
how
fragile?
big the emperor's heart
I heard
was,
from the nannies
he
that
wouldn't
at this
allow
stage,
a
we
hot-blooded
should
young
move
man
around
to take his
appropriately
woman out of the
Moreover,
palace.
it's only once in a while. How can
The
be
key
tiring?
was that this woman
Song
was
Qingshu's heart
devastatingly
warmed.
beautiful.
Goodbye's
and no
demure
man
and
could
elegant
resist her
tone
charm.
made people
After
feel
thinking
the
about
warmth
it,
of home.
the only explanation
Finger,
was that the two
you should
were
help your
planning
sister.
to elope.
Wanyan
He had been in the
Ping
palace
snorted.
for so many
Who
years.
said I didn't help?
And naturally
I've been helping
knew
my
the
sister.
seriousness of the matter.
I made the fish.
If the matter was exposed,
Song
he,
Qingshu's gaze fell
as a
on
servant
the
of Hui
blackened
Fei,
fish,
thinking
would
that
not
this
be able to
fish had
escape
really died a
responsibility.
tragic death.
At that time,
Noticing
the
the
emperor would
seeming
be
smile on
furious
his face,
and perhaps
Wan
sentence her
Yinping's
entire
face reddened.
family to
Her
be
voice
executed.
weakened.
He
I'm
naturally
not
had
as
to find
capable
out
as my
now.
sister.
Elope.
It's good enough
Song
that I cooked
Qingshu
well.
couldn't help
Don't
but
be
laugh.
so picky.
What nonsense are
Song
you saying?
Qingshu picked
Shin
up a piece
Bijuan,
of fish
on
with
the
his
other hand,
chopsticks,
was
and tasted
extremely
it with
embarrassed.
relish.
And I think
Elopement
it's not
was
bad.
something that people
Wan
love
Yinping
to see in
paused.
novels.
She
But for
wondered
young
if she
Mrs.
really was
like
talented.
her. Countless
Even though it
people
wasn't
had
as
told
good,
them how
the
shameless
taste shouldn't be
it was
bad.
to elope.
She
ever
picked up a
since they were
piece of
young.
fish with
Yang Yang,
anticipation
please pity
and
me.
put it in her mouth.
I have old
In the
people
end,
to take care of.
she immediately
If you
spat it out.
leave and the higher-ups investigate,
It's so
what will I
disgusting
do?
and brother-in-law.
The young
says
palace
it's
maid
good.
couldn't help
Why do you have
but
to lie
cry.
to me?
Shin
Song
Bijuan
Qingshu
opened her mouth,
calmly
but
picked up
didn't know
another
how to
piece
comfort her
and put it in his
She couldn't
mouth.
help but look at
Because
Song
when I eat,
Qingshu
I don't
for
eat
help.
the taste,
In
but the
reality,
reality
contained.
She didn't know what
Wan
method he
Yinping
would
had been
use to take
glaring
her
at
out
him
of the palace.
fiercely.
The most
But when she
likely
heard his
situation
words,
was that he
she
would use his
immediately
superior
became
martial
bashful.
arts to sneak her out of the
Goodbye.
palace.
Who was at the
But if he
side,
did that,
looked
it would
tenderly
be
at the two
easy
of
to
them.
implicate
Your
the people
mouth.
around her.
No wonder
Thinking
you could
about
trick
how
so
she had
many
regained her
girls.
freedom.
I'm
But
just
the
telling
price
the
would be
truth.
the lives of
Song
others.
Qing-shu,
The
drank a
kind-hearted
mouthful of
couldn't
soup.
bear it.
But it's
Song
also full of
Qing-shu
thought.
threw the
The
gold
taste of your
medallion
soup
to the young
is
palace
even
maid.
deeper.
See for
Wan
yourself if this
Yinping
gold
finally
medallion
realized
is fake
that she had
or
been
not.
tricked.
This is
She
the
couldn't help
emperor's
but
personal
pout
item.
coquettishly.
Who knows if it was
Smelly
forged by
brother-in-law.
him.
The
The young
meal was
palace
finished
maid
in a
turned the
joyous
medallion
atmosphere.
over and over.
The three of them
When she saw
admired
the
the
golden
moon
dragon
and the pavilion
engraved
in the
back
back
medallion with the
as they
words
chatted about some of the
Imperial
things
written
that had
on
happened
one
during this
side,
time. And
when they
regal
heard about
presence
Song
written on
Qing-shu's
the other,
experience in the
her
Western
heart
Xian
finally
country,
calmed.
The two women
who in the
palace
palace
dared
repeatedly
to forge an
and
imperial
but
edict.
sigh with emotion.
Song Qing-shu
Your
reached
life
out
is
and
really
sucked the medallion
wonderful.
back into
Compared
his
with
hand.
your life.
However,
Our days
he didn't
here
have the
are
heart
really
to scold
as
this
dull as
responsible
water.
young palace
Song
maid.
Qing-shu
Of course,
smiled bitterly.
he still had to scare her.
This is like walking on a
Remember not to
tightrope.
talk too much.
I also want to live an
or
ordinary
else you might
life.
not be able to keep your little
Wan
life.
Yinping pouted.
Finishing.
If you were an
He
ordinary
led
person who
Shin
lived an
out.
ordinary life,
When the two of them reached
your
the
female
door,
friends
the
would
young
be quarreling.
palace maid
Seeing
timidly
Song
asked,
Qing-shu's
"Yang,
awkward expression,
will you come back?"
Goodbye considerately helped him out. Since the founding of the great
Chapter
Jin
1904.
dynasty, we have always
Probably,
been on good
replied
terms with the
Song
Western
Qing-shu.
Xia dynasty.
Hearing his words,
even if we ignore this relationship,
originally
we can't let
happy
the
mood
Mongols
drop to the
occupy
bottom.
the Western
She had
Xia
thought that the
dynasty.
sun was shining
Otherwise,
brightly today,
the great
but now
Jin
it felt like the
dynasty's
sky
borders would be
was
surrounded by the
dark
Mongols.
clouds.
Noticing
even
her
more
expression,
dangerous.
Song
So if the
Qing-shu
Mongols
knew that
send
she had
troops,
misunderstood
the great
and
Jin
explained,
dynasty must
"Don't
send
think
troops
too
as
much."
well.
But
It's
now,
because your identity
the Mongols
is
have
sensitive.
conquered countless
You won't be able to
countries in the
use
West
your original
and are at the
identity
peak of their
to
power.
live in the
The
southern
Jin
Song
dynasty
for
was
a while.
previously in
This place
turmoil
can provide
and
you
had a
with a
war
safe
with the
haven.
southern Song dynasty.
But I don't like this place.
Even if we join forces
I'm always
with the
worried
Western Xia dynasty,
Shin
we
Bijun
may not
hesitated
be able to
for a
stop
long
them.
time
Song
before
Qing-shu
finishing
nodded.
her sentence.
So I have to
One
contact
day,
other countries.
the emperor will summon
After
me
all,
to serve him.
the Mongols are
Song
powerful
Qing-shu
now.
laughed.
No
Don't
country
worry
can resist
what
them
you're
alone.
worried about.
Goodbye
won't
looked
happen.
worried.
He
But
won't
Song
summon you
Liao
to serve
and the
him.
Jin dynasty,
Hearing his
are
laughter,
enemies.
Shun
They will
Bijun
definitely not
didn't know
send
why
troops
she became
to help
angry.
us.
Why?
The only
It's
country
better
that
to
can
be
help
safe
us
than
is the
sorry.
Qing dynasty.
There's no what if.
The
I
Qing
promise
dynasty
you,
and
said
the Jin
Song
dynasty
Qing-shu.
have always been
Shin
brothers.
Bijun's brows
But these
furrowed
years,
slightly.
they have been busy
I know
quelling
that
the
Brother Song
rebellion
is very
of the
skilled,
three border defenses.
but the
Coupled
other
with your
party
Golden Snake
is the
Battalion,
emperor.
The
If
Qing
he really
dynasty
wants to do
is
something,
not as powerful.
I'm
as it
afraid
used
Brother
to be.
Song won't be able to
Song
stop him.
Qing-shu answered.
Song
Qing-shu
Liao will
handed
not
the
help
gold
us.
medal to her.
But as long as
even
they
the
don't send
emperor's gold
troops to
medal
help
is
the
in my
Mongols,
hands. They will
and I
be
can
of great
enter
help to
and
us.
leave the palace
So
as
I
I
have to go to
please.
other countries.
I can take you away whenever
Although
I
Liao
want.
was under
So what
his
are you worried
control,
about?
the
But there
country
are some
did not
secrets that I
act
can't tell you
according
right
to the
now.
will of the
I can only
monarch
tell
alone.
you that you
It
can
represented
treat
the
palace
common
as your
interests
home.
of a
No one will
large group
bully
of
you
people.
or harm you.
Even if he became the emperor of Liao,
Shin Bijun
he could
was
not
shocked.
let Liao's army
There was too
help
much
the Jin
information in his
dynasty.
words.
If he
But
did
no matter
that,
how much she
the only
thought
result
about it,
would be that the
she
emperor would
couldn't
be
guess the
overthrown
truth.
by the whole country.
But I don't like this
and a
place.
new representative.
I can
would be
hide my
chosen.
identity
Hearing
and
the
live in a
farewell
small
in his
mountain
town.
for the
Goodbye
rest of my
sighed
life.
faintly.
Shin
Are you
Bijun bit
leaving
her
again?
lip.
Song
A hint of
Qing-shu
stubbornness
nodded
in her
heavily.
eyes.
The Mongols
Song
may attack
Qing-shu
the
sighed.
south at any time.
Bijun,
So
you've
I have to get
experienced
everything
so
ready
many
before the
things,
Western
but you
Xia
still don't
dynasty's
understand
merit
one
selection.
thing.
The day
A
after
woman
tomorrow,
as beautiful
maybe
as
tomorrow.
you.
So
Even
soon,
if you want to live a
Wan
peaceful
Yinping
life
looked
in a small
disappointed.
mountain town,
Goodbye said
there will be
softly.
trouble.
Pinger,
Shin Bijun
don't leave
was
tonight.
silent.
Stay
How
with
could
your
she not
brother-in-law.
understand this?
Wan
With her
Yinping,
beauty,
even
who had
if she
always been
wanted to
bold,
live the rest
blushed.
of her life in
She
poverty,
hurriedly said
she wouldn't be
"Sister,
able to avoid
I didn't mean
all
that.
kinds of harassment.
Goodbye smiled gently.
I can go my clan
I
brother's
know you didn't
place.
mean that. Shin
It's just that I'm
Bijun
not feeling
finally
well
found
now.
a reason.
I need you.
Song Qing-shu hesitated for a moment.
Chapter
but still
1894.
said,
You can go to
Goodbye
Shun
was finally
Xiaolon's
annoyed,
place, but
and
the
quickly
cooperation
inched her
between
sister's
me
mouth.
and Shun Xiaolon
Little girl,
isn't
why
that
do you tell
solid.
him everything?
I need your help to
Wan
maintain
Yinping
it.
dodged
He did not
as she
deliberately
giggled.
lie to
Brother-in-law
Shin Bijun
isn't an
because he
outsider.
knew that she
What's
was
wrong
an
with telling
intelligent
him?
person. Song Qing-shu also laughed.
In the original
and
work,
pulled goodbye
her
into
heart
his
was
embrace.
originally on her
Right,
husband,
we're all on the same
Yin
side.
Xingbi's side.
There's nothing to hide.
But every time
Goodbye
Yin
felt
Xingbi
extremely
said on the
awkward
surface that he
and
believed
quickly changed
there was
the topic.
nothing going on
You're
between
leaving
her
right
and
after
Xiao
returning.
11th land.
Do you want to go see
In the
Chiu
blink of an
Chao?
eye, he would
Song
use the
Qing-shu's
information from
smile
her mouth
froze.
to harm
The name
Xiao
Cattail
11th land,
Chiu Chao
causing
made
Shun
him
Bijun's
feel
heart
very
to be
complicated.
broken.
It had to be
She felt
said
that
he
she
was
was
a
a
complete
beautiful girl.
hypocrite. But he
With
only
this as an
felt
example,
guilt and
Song
pity for
Qing-shu
her.
naturally
He didn't
wouldn't
feel
make the
any
same
love
mistake
for
again.
her.
It
It was
Shin
only
Bijun
because of
was an
Wan
intelligent
Yin
person,
Elihu, and she would
and
eventually
Shun
learn about
Jia's
these
scheme
things
that
in
they
the
ended
future.
up having a
Rather than
relationship.
her
Forget
discovering
it.
the so-called
There's too little
truth
time,
and
I won't
having
be
her
seeing her.
feelings for him instantly
Song
reversed.
Qing-shu said,
It was better
Goodbye,
for him
and Wan
to tell her
Yinping
everything
roughly
knew
from
what
the
he was
start
thinking
and let her know
didn't say
everything.
anything else. Although it might
You don't
make
need
her
to feel
feel
too
disgusted
guilty.
at first. The
Without the
Pucha
reverse,
family committed
she wouldn't
such
hate
a grave
him because
mistake.
of love.
If not for you,
Hearing his words,
everyone would have been
Shun
exiled
Bijuan's
long
expression
ago.
changed.
Goodbye comforted
She had
him.
grown up in a
Also,
large family.
I've already sent
so she
people
wasn't
to
a
take
little
care of
white
Chiu
flower
Chow
that didn't
in
know
her
anything.
family.
Adding
Song
the many
Qing Shu
twists
couldn't
and
help
turns
but
she had
kiss her.
experienced recently.
With a wife like this,
she understood
what
the
more can a husband
cruelty
ask for?
of this world
Goodbye
better
blushed.
than most of the noble
Who's your
young
wife?
ladies.
Song
If it
Qing
was
Shu
in the
laughed,
past,
and
she would have
reached out
hated
to
this
caress
kind of
her
political
slightly bulging
transaction.
belly.
But
You're
now
already
that she had
pregnant with my
experienced
child,
so many
and you're
things,
still
she
so
didn't think
stubborn.
much of it.
She felt that there should be checks and balances.
Brother-in-law,
Big brother Song,
you really look like a
for you to
bully
tell
who
me
takes liberties
so
with a good
frankly
girl.
proves that you
Song
are a
Ching
gentleman.
Shu pulled her
Shin
over as
Bijuan
well.
was
I'm not only
filled with
taking
emotion.
liberties with a good girl.
Song Ching Shu
I'm also taking
hastily
liberties
waved
with
his
my
hand.
sister-in-law.
I'm not a gentleman.
Wan Yinping
I'm the worst
couldn't
person
help
in the
but
world.
pull Goodbye's
If he gave
hand
the other
and
too
say
high of an
coquettishly,
expectation at the
"Jie
start,
Jie,"
then it would
don't
all
you
be
care about
negative.
him.
Unexpectedly, he might
Goodbye
as well be the
said,
worst
"Ping
person
her,
from the start.
stay with
Shin
Jie later."
Bijuan burst out laughing.
Wan Yinping
If you're the
was
worst person in the
dumbfounded.
world,
She never
then
would
there
have
aren't
thought
any
that her
bad
usually
people in the world.
dignified sister
Song
would say
Ching
something
Shu
like
couldn't
that.
help but
Goodbye
shake his
rubbed
head.
her lower abdomen.
This world is like
Her
this.
eyes wandered.
People
and a
often
mature
don't
expression
believe the truth.
appeared on her face.
But lies make people believe.
It's not like you don't know what
without
he
a doubt.
looks like at that time.
Shin Bijuan
I'm worried
ignored
that he'll
him.
hurt the baby.
Hearing that she was a bargaining
when the
chip
time
that
comes,
the other side
you have to help.
was using to keep
Help me.
Shun
This kind of
Xiaolong
thing.
in check.
Even though Wan
she was
Yinping's
much more at
personality
ease. Was a
Since
bit of a
that's the
hot
case,
pepper. Then I'll
she
come
was
back
so
in the future.
embarrassed
that she
With
couldn't
you here,
control herself.
I'm not afraid of
She wanted to
anything.
refuse, seeing that
but
she
felt
had
that the other's
misunderstood.
reason was
Song Ching
reasonable.
Shu couldn't
After all,
say anything
the child
else.
in her belly was
He could
the
only
eldest.
tacitly agree.
So she was
It's good that you
momentarily
thought it
stunned.
through.
Let's
Song
leave the
Ching
palace
Shu
first.
was overjoyed.
At least you'll be
If
free
he had a
for
mirror,
a few months.
he would be able to see
After a
that
pause,
he was smiling.
he
like
asked
a
the young
fool.
palace maid
The next
beside
day,
him,
before
"Did you hear
Song
something
Ching
just
Shu
now?"
left,
The
the
young
young
palace
palace
maid
maid
shook her
head
head
like a
Taj
rattle
kiss.
drum.
On
No,
the way from
I didn't hear
Tang
anything.
Kuo's mansion to the
She had
palace.
lived in the palace
The image
since she
of
was young.
goodbyes,
So her
careful
strong
and
will to live
bashful
allowed
look from
her
the previous
to answer
night
correctly.
kept appearing
That's for the
in his
best.
mind.
Song Ching
Also,
Shu smiled.
Wan Yinping
and led
was a
Shin
playful
Bijuan
child
out
and
of
did
the
not want to have a
palace.
child in the
This
short
time,
term.
the
So
young
every
palace
time the
maid
last
didn't
moment,
dare stop them.
she would drag her sister to be the scapegoat.
With him
I'm really having
accompanying
too
her,
much fun.
Shun
and forgetting
Bijuan
home.
was able
He
to
had
leave the
experienced
palace
many
without any
things in this
instructions.
lifetime.
She
But
thought
he
that
had
the
never
palace
been
would be
with a
heavily
pregnant
guarded.
woman.
But
Song
when the
Ching Shu's
guards
mind
saw
was
the
in
token in
turmoil.
his hand,
It was
they
only when he
all
met
knelt down
Taj Kiss
and didn't even
knew
dare
that
that
it
it was
was
time
loudly.
to talk business.
Shin
That he
Bijuan couldn't
forcefully
help but
banish
ask,
these thoughts from
Big
his
brother
mind.
Song.
The two of them
How did you
chatted for a
obtain
long
this
time.
token?
Song
Discussing
Ching
some future
Shu had a
matters.
mysterious
Taj Kiss
expression.
could clearly
This is a
see through
secret.
his apprehension.
Shin
and
Bijuan
couldn't
asked
help
him
but
several
laugh.
times.
Are you
worried
worried
that after the
anything?
Persian Ming
This made her
dynasty
even more
is
curious.
destroyed, the
There were too many
foundation of our
things she was
cooperation
curious
will
about.
no longer exist,
Other than how he had
and
the
I might
Emperor's
betray
personal
you.
token.
Song Ching
She also
Shu
wanted to
was
know
unperturbed.
why he could freely
That's right.
enter
I
the
do have
palace.
this concern.
Why did he have the
You worry too
confidence
much
to let her
Taj
treat
Kiss
Liao's
hesitated for a
palace
moment
as her
before
home?
finally
Unfortunately,
deciding to explain.
no matter how she asked,
Firstly,
he remained
my life
tight-lipped.
is still in your hands.
This made her even more
Secondly,
curious.
Now
When
that
a
the
woman
Persian
became
Ming dynasty
curious
has
about a
pledged
man,
allegiance
everyone
to the
knew
Mongols
what would
and is
happen
pursuing
next.
little Zhao
Unfortunately,
everywhere.
Shan
The
Bijuan's
old man of the
mood
mountain
was
will
too
definitely
heavy,
not
and she
let
didn't
me
have time
off
to
in
think
the
about
future.
anything else.
Therefore,
although she
the
could
two of us
rationally
still
understand
need to
his
rely on
actions,
your protection.
emotionally
Song
accepting
Ching
it
Shu
was
quietly
another matter.
stared at her.
She had always
no
thought
other
of
reason?
Song Ching Shu
Under his
as the
gaze,
great hero
Taj Kiss
and
suddenly
savior of her
smiled
life.
sweetly.
But once she
akin
learned that
to
he
a
had
hundred
other
flowers
motives for
blooming.
saving her,
Are you
her
trying to
mood
say it's
couldn't
because
help
of you?
but change.
Song Ching Shu clearly noticed this
I am
change.
not conceited enough
After
to
the
make
two
you
of them
fall in love
traveled
with
for a
me.
few days,
Taj Kiss
he
bit her
couldn't
lips
help but
and
smile
spoke
and after a
ask,
long while.
"Do you dislike
I'm
me
indeed
now
not
and
in love
feel
with
that I'm
you, but
especially
I have fallen in
despicable?"
love with you.
No.
The feeling
Although
of
Shin
sleeping with you.
Bijuan said this,
Taj Kiss had
her
always
heart
been
still
cold
changed.
and elegant.
At the beginning,
Yet she suddenly
he had been a
uttered
godlike
such words.
existence in her
Song
heart.
Ching Shu
Now,
felt a ball
she
of
couldn't
fire
help but have
rising
some
from his
suspicions
lower
about
abdomen.
What
as
kind
he
of person
pulled
was
her
Song
into his
Ching
embrace.
Shu?
He
Taj
could clearly
Kiss
see the
suddenly
change
let
in her
out a
eyes,
mischievous
but it
laugh.
didn't matter to him.
We just came
He
out
had
from the Goodbye
experienced
Sisters
many
place
trials
last night.
and tribulations.
Are you all right?
No
Song
matter how
Ching Shu was
beautiful Shin
instantly
Bijuan,
annoyed.
can't
Was,
you feel for
it would be
yourself whether
difficult
I am
for him
all right
to lose
or
his
not?
mind.
Now
Many
that
of the
she was
women
in
by
his
his side,
embrace,
in
in
terms
terms
of
of
appearance and
intimate
temperament,
contact, were not
Taj Kiss
inferior
was
to her.
quickly able to
He
sense his
naturally wouldn't be like
aggressiveness.
other men
For a
who
moment,
couldn't control
her
themselves
eyes were covered
when he
with
saw
a layer
Shun
of
Bijuan.
mist.
He could
It is
clearly
daytime
feel
now.
that her attitude
Is there a difference
had
between
changed from
day
intimacy
and night
at the
for
beginning
such
to a bit
matters?
estranged?
What if someone barges
Song
in?
Ching Shu
Immediately
didn't
chop
explain.
off that
There was
person's
no
head.
point in
But I
explaining
still have to
things
meet
like
with
this.
some
ministers
It was
later.
better to let time
Let them wait a little
prove
longer.
everything.
Then how long
As
do
they
you want
traveled
to
to
wait?
Sichuan,
Always waiting.
Song Qing
very
Shu took
quickly.
into consideration
The chatter in
that
the room
other was
gradually
a young miss
became
who
inaudible
rarely left the house.
and was replaced by
He
deliberately
specially hired a
suppressed
carriage.
laughter.
The two of them
By the
traveled
time
for 2
Song
days,
Qing Shu left
each with their
Daxing
own
Manor.
thoughts. The sky
On the third
had already
day,
darkened.
Shen
Song
Bijuan
Qing Shu
suddenly
felt
opened
like he
the
was
door of the
floating
carriage.
as he rode
She
on his
blushed
horse.
and
He
asked.
thought to himself
Brother
that
Song,
lust was indeed
can you
like
stop
a
for a
knife
moment?
above his
Song
head.
Qing Shu
If it
wasn't
weren't
an
for his
impulsive
divine
man.
power
He knew
protecting his
that
body,
after traveling
he
for such a
probably
long
wouldn't have been
time,
able to hold on
there
much
must be
longer.
times when it was
He thought of
inconvenient
Taj
for
for
her.
her.
On
He
the
stopped the
surface,
carriage and
she
smiled.
appeared to be an
We've been
icy
traveling for
beauty.
too long.
But in the
I'm
dark,
going to front to
she
relieve
hid a
myself.
blazing volcano.
Bijuan, wait
Perhaps
for
she
me.
knew that it would be a long time before they could meet
Shen
again.
Bijuan was
She
smart.
clung on to
How
him
could she not
for a
know
long
that he
time.
deliberately
Anyway,
said this?
Other
to
people's
ease her
men
embarrassment?
don't feel any
Her heart
heartache
was
when
filled with
using me.
gratitude.
Thinking
she
of
couldn't say
Tasse's
anything.
radiant face.
After leaving
Her
the carriage,
eyes
sparkling,
Song
as she
Qing-shu
said
suddenly
those
had an
words.
idea. Song
This is the
Qing-shu felt
wilderness.
that retribution was
Bijuan,
coming to him.
be careful not
he
to
never
get bitten by
expected
a
to hear
snake.
those words.
Shin Bijuan
At the same
agreed.
time, but in her
He
heart,
secretly
she
swore
thought,
to himself
how
that
could
the
there
next
be
time he was
such
in
a
peak
coincidence?
condition,
He would
after
teach
she
her a
saw
lesson
Song
until
Qing
she
Shu's
begged
for
for
mercy.
mercy.
She
His
blushed
journey to the
and
Jin
found a
Kingdom
small
was
bush
extremely
nearby to
rushed.
squat down.
He did not even
Song
have the time to
Qing-shu
visit
was
Wan
resting
Yanzhong
under a
Jie
tree
and
not
not
far
far
away.
away. He was
Furthermore,
waiting for the right time to go
Ouyang
back,
Feng was
but he
either in
suddenly heard her
seclusion
scream
or
he couldn't help but
concocting
rush
some
over and
peerless
ask.
poison.
He was
Bijuan,
always elusive.
what's wrong?
But Xiao,
He was no longer a
Qianren
rash
managed to
person.
meet him in the palace.
When he arrived near the bush,
now that he had the
he was
support
worried
of
that
the
the
other
other
party's
sect
clothes
and the
weren't
Jin
properly
Kingdom's
packed.
treasury,
So he didn't
Xiao
rush over.
Qianren's martial arts
He only
could be
asked
said to have
distance.
improved to the next level.
I was bitten by a
He could
snake.
definitely compete
At this time,
with the 5 uniques.
Shun Bijuan's weak
After
voice
leaving the
came
Jin
from
Kingdom,
bush. He headed straight for Liao. This time, the matter concerned Mongolia. There were
Chapter
some matters that
1905.
needed to be discussed with Zhao Min.
Song Qing
After
Shu
all,
was startled.
she was a
He
Mongolian
didn't have time to
princess.
think too much and
Previously,
rushed over.
he did not
It
have
had to be
any
known that
direct
there were some
conflict with the
snakes in this
Mongolians,
world that
so
were
the two of them
extremely
could put these
poisonous.
matters aside.
Shin Bijuan
But now,
didn't have
he had
any
no
internal
choice
energy.
but to face
So
this
if she was
problem.
bitten by one of those
Along the way
snakes,
to Liao,
she would die in
Song
minutes.
Qing Shu
He
gradually
rushed into the
recovered his
thicket.
energy.
Shin
One
Bijuan's
day,
clothes were
when he
still
passed by a
intact,
forest,
but she was
he
holding her
heard the
calf
sounds
with
of
a worried
fighting.
expression.
He saw a masked
the
young
snake?
girl
Song
fighting
Qing
with a
Shu quickly
spear-wielding
asked.
man.
Even in the
spear-wielding
future,
man's iron
if someone was
spear
bitten
like
by a
prairie
snake,
fire, the first
his
thing the hospital
aura
would ask was
incomparably
this,
austere.
so that they could prepare
The young girl's
corresponding
figure was
serum.
graceful,
Although Song
and her
Qing
movements
Shu
were
didn't have
extremely
a serum.
crafty.
If he
She
knew what kind of
forcefully
snake it
avoided the
was,
sky,
he would know
full
if it
of
was
poisonous
poisonous
shadows.
or not. Shin Bijuan shook her head
Chapter
and said with
1895.
lingering fear, although the girl's
It
face
bit
was
me
covered,
and then
it could be
ran.
seen that
I
she
didn't
was
see it
not
clearly.
very old.
Song
She had a
Qing
petite
Shu
frown,
an
he
exquisite
squatted down
figure,
in front of her, facing the
grabbed her
murderous
calf.
long
Who
spear
knew
of the
that
opponent.
Shun Bijuan
She was like
would
a butterfly
instinctively pull her
dancing
leg back
lightly
in her
and
dress.
lightly.
What are you
Dodging the
doing?
opponent's
Song
continuous
Qing Shu
attacks.
rolled his eyes.
The reason
and
why
said in a
Song
deep
Qing
voice,
Shu's expression
I want
was
to see her
strange
wound.
was because
In
the
truth,
two of them had
Shin
just met
Bijuan
not
regretted
too
her
long ago.
words as
She was the
soon as
young
she said
lady
them.
who was
She
hiding
wasn't
his bed
stupid
at the inn and could
later
roughly
on.
guess the reason. After discussing
However,
with Taj Tish,
it was
he
just
guessed
a
that she was
ladylike
most
reaction.
likely Xiao
So
Zhao.
she didn't know how to
Now that they
explain it.
met again,
She could
there
only
was no
silently
doubt
let
in his
him
heart.
examine her
The
calf.
martial arts
The
displayed
sword
by
energy
this girl
in
were
Song
obviously
Qing Shu's
the
hand
mental
was
cultivation
extremely
method
sharp
of the Shang Huo
and quickly
which
cut
was similar
open the
to
cloth
revered
covering her
Ming's
calf.
martial arts. Seeing the
It
shape
was
of
just
the
that she
wound
was
and
slightly
faint
lacking
fishy
compared to
smell,
revered
his
Ming's.
heart couldn't help
Song
but
Qing
sink.
Shu had fought
You were
with
bitten by a
revered Ming
poison many
snake,
times and could
without waiting
naturally
for the other
recognize
party to
her at a
respond.
glance. He
The
quickly
other
sealed
tall and
several
sturdy man
acupoints
was
on her
also
body,
a familiar
protecting
face.
her heart.
He was
and
the leader of the
arteries.
Red Coat Army.
Then he
Yang
used the
and
solitary yang finger
At the same
healing
time,
technique.
he
to
was
move
also
the
the
elder
acupoints
brother
on
on
her
her fourth
legs,
lady, as if he was
Yang
flying.
Yaojin.
Am I going
It was
to
said
die?
that Yang
Seeing
Yaojin's
his serious
foundation
expression
spear
technique
Shun
was taught
Bijuan's
by his
face
elder
pale.
brother. She
From
was about
Yang
to
and
regain her
her
freedom,
spear technique,
but when she was the happiest,
one could see many traces
she had
of
fallen
the
into
pear blossom
rock bottom.
spear.
No matter
However,
how strong
one
she
was agile
she
and
couldn't bear
ethereal,
this kind of
while the
strong
other was
contrast.
calm and stern.
Song
Although
Qing
the
Shu
moves were
comforted
somewhat
her.
similar,
Don't worry. The spear
with
and
me
taint
here,
was very
how could I let you
different.
die?
Song Qing
Now
Shu
that
was
his
the leader of the
cultivation
Golden
was
Snake
profound,
Battalion, while
and he had a
Yang
few
and
experiences
was the
of being
leader of the
poisoned
Red
to
Coat
treat his
Army.
injuries.
The Golden Snake
could a mere
Battalion
poison
and
be
the
a
Red
problem
Coat
for him?
Army could
However,
be said to be the
he soon
peerless
frowned
duo
and said,
of the Lulin sect.
"This snake's poison
However,
is quite
as Song
strong."
Qing Shu's
It took me
influence
so
grew,
long to
Yang
force out 2
seemed
drops
to
of
pale in
poisonous
comparison.
blood.
Even
Bijuan,
so,
you have to
the
endure
brother
it a
and
little
sister's
longer.
divine spear
When Shin
technique
Bijuan heard the
and the
first
Red
half of
Coat
his
Army
words,
strength,
she couldn't
made
help
them
but
existence
relax.
that no one
In her
dared
heart,
to underestimate.
this person
While he was
was an
thinking,
omnipotent
the two had
person.
exchanged
Since he
dozens
said
of
this,
moves.
then he was clearly
Xiao Zhao's
fine.
movements were
However,
extremely
when
strange,
she heard the second half
and the
of his
martial
words,
arts of the Shang
her
Huo
heart
Ling were
jumped
very
again.
different from
She
the
wanted to
martial
ask
arts
more,
of the Central Plains.
but seeing that he was
if she were to
completely
encounter
focused
someone
on
else,
forcing out
even
the
if their
poison,
martial arts
she
were
was
higher
worried
than
that she
hers,
would disturb
they
him.
would still be
She could
at a
only sit there
disadvantage.
and worry.
Unfortunately, her opponent opponent was Yang,
Song Qin
and who had
Shu
mastered the
the
spear
spirit
technique,
and
used the one
Many of
yang
the Sheng
finger
Huoling's
and the
martial
great
arts
mystery
relied
scripture
on
to
unexpected
force the poison
movements
blood
to attack
out of her
from the
body
enemy
bit by
bit
bit
or back.
for 4 hours.
Unfortunately,
when he saw
the
that her
opponent's
blood had
weapon
returned
was
to
a
its
spear.
normal red color,
As the saying goes,
he let out a sigh.
an inch
of
longer
relief.
is an inch
Her
stronger.
life shouldn't be in
That
danger.
exaggerated attack
However,
range made
this
it
snake's
difficult
poison
for
is
her
strange.
to get close to him.
Even with my current
As a result,
cultivation,
she could
it took
only
me so much
passively
to take
effort
a beating to force
it was fine
out.
for a short period
Maybe there
of
will be
time,
some side effects.
but if the fight dragged
Let's observe
on,
for a bit
she would
first.
definitely lose.
At the same time,
what's more,
he sighed
young
inwardly.
Aner had a team of
In the
subordinates
ancient times,
behind her.
there were snakes,
If it joined in to help,
insects,
Xiao Zhao
rats,
wouldn't be able to hold
and
on.
ants everywhere.
Young
This
and
road
laughed.
wasn't very
I didn't expect a
desolate,
little
but
girl
they
like
still
you to be
encountered
so
such
skilled
a
in martial
poisonous
arts.
snake. You're perfect.
It seemed
to
that
be
the
my
future
wife.
was more suitable
Song
for
Qing
ordinary
Shu had a
people to
strange
live in.
expression on
Thank
his
you,
face.
Brother Song.
He didn't
Shin
think that he would
Bijun
encounter a
forced the
scene
smile.
of a woman being
Song Qing
forcefully
Shu had been
abducted.
busy for
However,
4 hours.
when he thought about
but
it,
he still had the
even though the
support
Red Coat
of his
Army was
internal
known
energy.
as a volunteer
However,
army,
they were
her
actually
body
a
was
group of
weak,
bandits.
and she was
This
poisoned.
kind of behavior was
She had been
very
relying
common.
on her last
Sure
breath
enough, for so
The
long.
people who suffered
Now
the
that she was
most
able
in
to breathe,
troubled times were the
she felt a
common people.
wave of
These
dizziness
great
and
heroes in the
fainted.
eyes of
When
the common
Shin
people
Bijun
had
woke up,
secretly abducted
she found
many
herself
common
in a
women.
broken temple.
It was just that today
This temple
they
was
happened
not
to
only
meet a
broken,
tough guy,
but it was
so
also
it wasn't
very
so easy
small.
for them to succeed.
Inside the small,
just as
and
he was
broken
bemoaning the
altar,
state of the universe,
there seemed to be a mountain
and pitying
god.
the fate
The
of
wind
mankind.
outside howled.
Young and her
And
had
if it wasn't
already
for the
noticed
fire
him.
in front of the
When
altar,
she saw his face,
Shin
she
Bijun
couldn't
would
help
have
but
been
smile
frozen.
and say,
Wind leaked
Brother
in
Song,
from all directions.
you've come at the right time,
and the flames
he could be our
kept
matchmaker.
flickering.
The
The
more I
man
look
was
at this
warming
little girl,
himself with
the
his
more I
hands,
like her.
humming a song
He and Song
in a
Qing
low
Shu
voice.
were both bosses
Shin
of the
Bijun
underworld,
was shocked,
and because
but
of
she
Yang
quickly
Miaozhen,
recognized
they had
him
met a
as
few
Song
times
Qing
before.
Shu.
Song
She
Qing
gradually
Shu
relaxed.
naturally understood the
She wanted to
meaning
call out
behind
to
his
him,
words,
but she
he
suddenly
was deliberately
realized that the
shouting
song
like
he
this
was humming
because
was
he was
completely
worried that
different
Song
from the
Qing
songs of the
Shu
gong,
would snatch his
shang,
woman. He
jiao,
really had to give it to
and
him.
huiyu of
Was
this
his
world.
reputation really
The song
that
was
bad?
indescribably
When the girl heard
bleak,
his words,
desolate,
she
and
glanced
lonely.
at Song Qing
It didn't
Shu
match him
from
at
the
all.
corner of her eyes.
Shin Bijun
She
thought
couldn't help
that he was
but
a
reveal
famous
his
person
strange
at
look in
such
her
a young
eyes.
age.
She
And
suddenly
he had
jumped
so
out
many
of the
women
fighting
by his
ring
side.
and shouted,
Why did he still feel
Brother
so
Song,
lonely?
this person is
As soon as
bullying
Shin
me.
Bijun opened her
Hearing
eyes,
this,
she
Yang
couldn't
and her
help
but
be
put
attracted
away
to
her
him.
spear
After a
and
long
asked in
time,
surprise.
she realized
You two
that
know
she
each other?
shouldn't have paid
More or less
so much attention
Song
to a
Qing
man.
Shu felt a
She should have
headache
thought
coming
about
on.
her own
Xiao
situation
Zhao was said to
first.
be a gentle,
There was naturally
and
no
understanding
bed in
flower.
the broken temple.
But why was it that
So she
every
slept
time
on the
he met
altar.
her, there was a
Nothing
thick
good
layer
happened.
of straw?
The
The
girl
girl
immediately
immediately
revealed
she couldn't
a
help
wronged
but
expression.
sigh. Brother
Song
Song was truly
I've already
considerate.
slept on the same
No
bed
wonder
as you.
so many women
Are you being
couldn't
too
help
cruel?
but fall in love
Song
with him.
Qing Shu
You're
opened
awake?
his mouth,
Song
but he
Qing
didn't know
Shu
how to
turned his
refute.
head. In a
Shin
sense,
Bijun
the
nodded
two of them
and
really did
revealed
sleep on the same bed
smile.
that night.
What
Yang
song
and her
did Brother
felt like
Song
he had been
just
deaf.
sing?
I just
Cat.
randomly
The girl he had fallen in love
replied
with at
Song
first sight
Qing Shu
and spent
carelessly.
so much effort to
Shin
get her
Bijun
had
had
already been
startled.
slept with.
It has
by
to be
another
known
man.
that she was
He suddenly
famous
felt
in
that
Jiang,
all his previous
who
efforts
knew
were
how
a joke.
many scholars
However,
and noble
he was an
young
ambitious
masters
person after
surrounded
all.
her.
He
Not
quickly
letting go
adjusted
of
his
any
mentality
opportunity
and said
to
to
show
show
off
off
their
Qing
talents.
Shu.
It is
She had never
rumored that
seen
Brother
someone like
Song
Song
has countless
Qing
women
Shu
around you.
deliberately avoided.
Seeing you today,
Her curiosity
you really do
was
live
piqued.
up to your reputation. Hearing
She
the sour
naturally
tone
didn't
in
want
his
to let it go.
voice, although I
Song
don't
Qing
really
Shu
understand
was
how the
also
rhythm is
extremely
arranged,
embarrassed.
it's very nice
He felt
to
that he had
listen to.
also provoked
Did Brother
an
Song
undeserved
create it
disaster.
yourself?
However,
I don't have
he
that
couldn't
ability.
just sit and
With
watch
Song
Xiao
Qing Shu's
Zhao
current
be taken away
situation,
by the other
he
side.
naturally
If he
disdained
denied
being
it,
a plagiarist.
it would be difficult
and
to
borrowing
protect
other
her
people's
without
beauty.
hurting the
It's a song from my
relationship between
hometown.
them.
I learned it from someone else.
He could only go with the
Brother
flow
Song's
and agree.
hometown is
I've let
truly
Brother
a
Yang
place of
see
great
a
people.
joke.
I really
The girl
want to
was
go
also
see.
clever.
Shin
Seeing
Bijun
this,
was talented.
she happily
and
ran
beautiful.
over to Song
In this
Qing Shu's
era,
side.
there weren't
To
many
outsiders,
things that could be
it
considered.
looked like she was
hobbies.
holding his arm
It was just the
and
four
nestling
us.
in his arms.
She also had a
Only
deep
Song
understanding
Qing
of
Shu
music,
knew that
so she
was
couldn't help
actually
but feel a bit
deliberately
excited
keeping some
when she
distance
saw
between
this.
them.
But
Yang
after saying
didn't know the
this,
truth.
her face
He only
turned
felt
red
that the scene in
because she
front of him
realized
was
that
a
it was a
bit
bit
painful.
inappropriate.
Suppressing the
As a
urge
girl,
to chop this
telling a
adulterous
man
couple to
that she
death,
wanted to go to
he
his
asked,
home would
"Where's
inevitably
Brother Song
cause
planning to go?"
misunderstandings. I'm planning to go
Then
to
she
Liao.
hurriedly added,
There are some things I need
"Brother
to
Song,
discuss with the
are
Yellow
you
Chi
homesick?"
family. Your song just
Song
now
Qing
made me
Shu
feel homesick.
said half truthfully.
Song Qing Shu,
In any case,
looked at her
everyone knew that he
speechlessly.
had helped
As
Xiao
expected
Feng,
of the
Yalu
famous
Qi,
talented woman of
and the
Mountain
others
Yi.
escaped from Liao.
She could hear the
So there was
emotion
no need
in
to
the
hide it from
song,
them.
even though
As for
he
whether
did
or
not
not he would
understand
go to
it.
Liao,
This
to
song
find
is
Yalu
indeed
Qi,
about my hometown.
that was a matter
but
for
I'm just
another
being
time.
sentimental.
Young,
Even
and
though I
her
miss that
couldn't help
world,
showing a
if I
trace
have
of
to
envy.
choose,
Brother
this
Song's
world
business
is
is
more
getting
attractive.
bigger and bigger.
Shin Bijun,
Unlike
was
me,
confused, who is stuck
why
in
did
a
he mention
in this world or that
Hearing the
world
sorrow in
when
his
he mentioned his
voice.
hometown. Song Qing couldn't help but be surprised. Brother Yang. Why
Chapter
do you say
1906.
that? Yang
Shin
Bijuan had
hesitated
never
for a
heard
moment,
anyone
then
say
pulled him far
such
away
rude
to
words to
avoid
her
the group
before.
of subordinates.
Although she was very
To be
gentle,
honest, Brother
she had
Song,
never
we
listened to
responded to
anyone's
Han
orders
Xianzhou's
before.
northern
If it was anyone
expedition
else,
and
she
attacked
might have
the Jin
immediately
Kingdom.
jumped down, but this was Song
Unfortunately,
Qing
the Jin Kingdom
She
was
hesitated,
too strong,
but in the end,
and we couldn't take
she didn't
advantage of
disobey
them.
him. Later,
Song
when Han Xianzhou's
continued to
northern
say,
expedition
"If you
army
must move,
completely
you should
collapsed,
first look at your
the
leg.
Jin Kingdom,
No matter how
had the spare
beautiful a
power to
person
deal with
is,
us.
they won't look
As a result,
good without a leg.
the Red Coat Army
Shin
suffered
Bijuan
heavy losses.
looked down in
The
confusion,
Southern Song
and
found that her
Dynasty's
right
army
leg was
is
swollen.
so
It was very
disappointing.
swollen. Song
She
Qing
immediately
didn't know
fell
what to
down.
say. Any
so he could
woman
only
who
try to
saw
comfort
their
him.
legs
The Jin
swollen to the
Kingdom's
size of
government
hers
was
would be
mainly
scared
managed
out of
by
their
the good
wits.
sisters and Tashkis.
Seeing her reaction,
so he didn't know
Song
the details of
Qing
how they
seemed
dealt
to
with the
laugh.
Redcoat army.
Shinbijun
It's all
was
because
a
of
bit
me.
embarrassed.
If I knew the Southern
After she
Song
calmed
Dynasty's
down,
people
she
were so
asked,
useless,
how did I get here?
I wouldn't have gotten involved.
Song Qing
The more
replied,
Yang and her spoke,
I forced the poison
the
out of your
angrier you
leg,
became.
and then you
That's
fainted.
not all.
The
We were
thing
a bit
is,
far from
Han
the city,
Qianzhou
so is
I found this
unreliable.
temple.
He was
and
tricked
brought you
by
here.
Jia Sherdao.
What's wrong with my leg?
Not only did he lose his
Shinbijun
life,
couldn't
but
help,
he also got us
asked
into
the
trouble.
question she
What do you
cared
mean?
about the most.
Song Qing
It should be the
asked
residual
curiously.
effects of the snake
Yang
veil.
and Er sighed
Song
and said,
Qing
because of
explained.
Han Qianzhou,
Residual
we had a
effects.
good relationship with the
Shinbijun
Southern Song
jumped in
Dynasty.
fright.
The
She
Southern
sounded like she
Song
was about to
Dynasty
cry.
Since
In the
Su
future,
Shiji,
as the
my
Huaidong
leg will be like
Imperial
this,
Commissioner,
although
and
she
tried to
usually
appease
said
us.
that she would
They also
rather
supported
not
us
have
with
this
money
beauty.
and food.
How could a
But
girl
now that
not
Han
care about her
Qianzhou is
appearance?
gone,
If
Su
her leg
Shiji,
became like this,
as Han
she would rather
Qianzhou's
die.
disciple,
Song
had to step down.
Qing
Lu
shook his
Gu,
head.
who
Don't
took over
worry,
the position,
it shouldn't be like
had a
this.
completely different
I'll
attitude
find some
toward
herbs
us.
and apply
He
them
led
on your leg
30,000
a few
troops
times.
to Chuzhou.
It should be able to reduce
as if he wanted
the
to get rid
swelling.
of us. As he
I
spoke,
think we will be
he stood
regarded
up.
as Han
You were unconscious
Qianzhou's
earlier,
people.
so I
we
didn't
will
feel at
naturally be
ease
eliminating
leaving
you
you
here
here
alone.
Song
Now that you're
Qing
awake,
frowned.
I'll go
He
find
didn't
some
expect the
herbs.
situation
Wait
in the
here for me.
South to be so
AI.
chaotic. Shinbijun
He said the
originally
Southern
wanted
Song
to make him
Dynasty's
stay,
officials
but when she
love to
thought
do
about
this
how
kind of
her
thing.
legs would be
The
like this
successors
for the
will
rest of her life
completely
without
overthrow
the previous
she
ones, and
by the time
eliminate
she
the dissidents.
hesitated.
He had
In
already
fact,
disappeared.
It was like
from
this
the temple.
everywhere.
The wind
If
was
they
still
followed
howling
the
outside.
previous policies
Apart from the
of
sound of the
political
wind,
enemies,
there was
the
no
results
other
would be
sound.
credited to
It was
their
as if she was the
political enemies.
only person left in the
Therefore,
world.
their code
She had
of
already felt
conduct
lonely
was
and
not
helpless.
whether it was beneficial
Now,
to the country.
she felt like
but
a
whether
speck
it was
of dust
beneficial
that
to
had been
themselves.
forgotten by others.
Isn't that right?
She had never
They're
missed
all
a man
dogs
so
who bring
much.
disaster
Back
to the
then,
country.
she was waiting
Yang
for
and
him
her
to
gritted
pick
his
her up in the
teeth
palace
and said,
Now, Song
she hoped that he
Qing
would come back
asked,
quickly.
By the way,
Only by
where are you
staying
going,
by his
brother
side was she
Yang and her
feel
replied.
safe.
Have I
Lu Gu
fallen
was
in love
eyeing
with
us
him?
like a tiger watching
As soon
its
as this
prey.
thought appeared,
We have suffered heavy
Shinbijun
losses in the
jumped
battle
in
with the
fright.
Jin Kingdom.
In truth,
To be safe,
it wasn't that she
I
felt
plan
that
to
there was
seek help from
anything
the
wrong
sworn
with
brother
Song
Song Qing.
He also has
In
a group
fact,
of people under
he
him.
was more outstanding
Song
than any
Qing
man she
smiled
had
bitterly.
ever met.
Most
Unfortunately,
importantly, I can't
he
help
already had a
Brother
wife.
Yang with my current
Although
status.
Shinbijun was
Yang
in dire
and
straits,
waved his hand.
she was still proud.
You were the Song
She would never be a
Dynasty's king
concubine
Qi
for
and
a
their
man,
twin Phoenix
even if that
Emperor
man was
son-in-law.
the best man
You
in
were
the
already
world.
doing them a great favor by not helping them
When a
fight
person
me.
suffers
Song
misfortune
Qing
or is in
Shu
pain,
said,
their heart will become
We are all from the bottom of the
especially
family.
weak.
They will
Naturally,
need the sympathy
we should be on the
and
same
comfort
side.
of others.
How can we do harm
and they
to
will
each
not
other?
be able to
Although I
endure
can't help you
loneliness.
openly.
She
I will
tried to
ask the
explain
Golden
for
Snake
herself,
Battalion to
but she
secretly
wasn't
provide
very
some money
satisfied
and
with this
food to
explanation.
show my sincerity.
Her heart was in a mess.
Young and her was
she didn't know what
overjoyed.
to do.
That's
She
great.
sank into
I will
deep
remember
thought
this
like
kindness.
this. Time passed.
Brother Yang,
You
and
are too
footsteps
kind.
came from the door.
Song Qing Shu
She saw
chatted
Song
with him
Qing
for a
Shu
while.
walk in with a bucket
Suddenly,
of water in his
he remembered
left hand
something
and a
and
large
asked,
bundle of
"How is
unknown
the
herbs
fourth lady
and
doing?"
Big
Young
brother Song
and her had a strange look on
Shinbijun
his
sweetly
face.
called out.
He thought,
with him by her
the
side,
woman was stolen
she
by
felt
you,
a strange
and
sense
now
of
you're
security.
thinking about my sister.
After finding
Is
the
there
herbs
any
he wanted,
justice in this world?
Song Qing Shu was
However,
in good mood.
he had just
and couldn't
received
help
benefit
but
from
joke.
Yang and her.
No.
So
No.
he couldn't say anything.
Big brother Song,
Miaojin
you were
is
the
doing
only
well.
one to come in.
I have a general
Shinbijun had just
Quan, who
finished
is
speaking
madly pursuing
when she
her,
suddenly
but
felt
she
that
doesn't
something
seem
was
to be
wrong
moved.
and couldn't
It
help
seems that she
but
already
smile.
has someone she likes.
I didn't think that I would
Brother
end
Song,
up
if you
in
have
such
time,
a situation.
come visit us.
Song
and
Qing
ask
Shu
for her
was
hand
also
in marriage.
startled.
Maybe
He
my
smiled
sister
and
will
said,
agree. I
After
didn't
saying
think that I would
this,
end up
he looked
in
at
such
Xiao
a
Zhao
situation.
proudly.
As he
He had
spoke,
only said this
he
on
set up a
purpose
shelf
to drive a
over the
wedge
fire.
between the two.
Then he took out a broken
Who told
clay
this pair of
pot
dogs
that he had found
to
from
keep
who
showing
knew
off
where
their
and
affection
poured
in
half
front
of
of
the
him.
water inside.
Noticing his expression,
Then he poured
Song
most of the
Qing
herbs he
Shu
had
could
found into
roughly
it.
guess
What kind of
was
herbs
going
are
on.
these? He couldn't help but laugh.
Shinbijun asked
Who said that a
curiously.
boorish man
Song
couldn't
Qing
have a
Shu
delicate
shook his
mind?
head.
I don't
Wasn't
know
the
either.
situation in front of him an
Shinbijun
example?
was speechless.
Okay,
I'll
she was about
definitely
to
go to your
praise him,
place when I'm
but
free.
she immediately
if I can really
swallowed it
marry
back
the
down.
beautiful
She
and
almost
talented
choked.
fourth lady,
While the medicine was
then I'll
being
be
brewed,
smiling
Song
even in my
Ching-shu
dreams.
walked over with the rest
At that
of
time,
hers.
I'll
Although
have
I
to call
don't
you
know their
brother-in-law. I know
Song
that they have a
Ching-shu cupped
miraculous
his
effect
hands
on
and
snake
said
venom
with a smile,
and can cure the
Yamina
injury
was
underway.
speechless.
When he arrived in
He
front
suddenly
of her,
felt a little
he couldn't help
regretful,
but frown,
especially
when he thought of
why are you
all
wearing
the rumors
shoes
about
and socks
him
again?
in the pugilistic
Hurry up
world.
and take them off.
For a moment,
Show me
he
your
couldn't
leg.
help but feel a
Shinbiju
headache.
and bitter
That
lips
proud and arrogant
said,
girl of his might really be
can you take a
seduced
walk
by this
outside?
guy.
She had
That would
asked
be
him
a
to
huge
force out the
loss.
poison earlier
A
because
huge
the
loss,
situation was
after
too
casually
tense.
replying to Song
But now,
Ching-shu with a
she had
few
let her
words,
imagination
he
run
hurriedly
wild.
said goodbye.
She suddenly
He
didn't
thought
have
that
the
he should
courage
not
she
let
had
them see
before.
each other in the future.
Song Ching-shu
Lest his sister
bluntly
made the
said,
red coat
I
army
can't.
into her dowry.
Shinbiju
Seeing
and
that Yang
ears turned
and
red.
her
She
and the
stood
others
there
had
in a
disappeared in
daze,
the distance,
wishing that she could
Song
just die.
Ching-shu looked down
Song
his arm
Ching-shu
and
sighed.
asked,
The
"How
people
long
of
do you plan to
Jianghu
hug
don't
her?"
care about trifles.
What time is it now?
Chapter
1896.
Why do you have to worry
Did you know
about
me
those
before?
red tape from
Song
before?
Qing-shu
Don't
asked
think
with
that
a
I want to
smile.
see your feet.
The young girl
There's
looked him
nothing
up
to
and
look at
down,
right now.
then
I
said
just want to
with
see
some
if the poison has
surprise,
returned.
I've seen you a few times.
Shinbiju muttered,
but you're different
I
now.
know, Big Brother
What's
Song
different?
doesn't mean
Song
that, but
Qing-shu asked
in this day and
curiously.
age,
The young girl
asking a
shook her
virtuous
head.
lady to take off her
I can't
shoes and
say.
socks
Perhaps
was
it's
as
mainly your
difficult
temperament,
as
the
asking
impression
her
you
to take
give
off her
people
clothes
is
seeing her
completely different.
squirm.
Song
Qing-shu
Qing-shu
felt
sighed
a headache
inwardly.
coming on.
He had changed
He
so
deliberately
much
said
that
to scare
even
her,
Song Yuan
if the
Xiao
poison
wouldn't dare
returns
to
and
recognize
suddenly
him after
spreads,
not seeing him for
you
a
might
few
even have to
years.
show other people your
Dispelling
body.
these thoughts from his mind, he came back to his senses and
These
asked,
words were more
"Right?
effective than
What's your name?"
anything else.
The young girl smiled.
Shinbiju slowly
I'm not
took off
telling
her
you.
shoes and
Song
socks.
Qing-shu
When
was
she first took them
speechless.
off,
Isn't
her
this
entire
too
body
unfair?
was trembling.
We were just pretending
now
to be
her heart
husband
had
and
gradually
wife
calmed down
in front of others.
She felt that
And now you're not
everything
even
wasn't as
acknowledging me?
bad as she
What if
had
Yang
imagined.
asked me about
Song
you in the
Qing-shu
future,
held her
and I
foot
don't even
in his
know your name?
hand and
Wouldn't that be
carefully
publicly
examined it
saying
for a
that I'm
while.
lying to him?
He inwardly
Then I'll
nodded his
attract
head.
a powerful
The situation
enemy
that he was
out of
worried
nowhere.
about did not happen.
The young girl
Only then did
hesitated
he
for a
pick
moment,
out a few
but in the
kinds
end,
of herbs
she didn't say.
and pick the most tender
With my
ones.
current situation,
He slowly
there's
chewed
no
them in his
benefit
mouth
in knowing
as if
my
he was
name.
tasting their flavor.
It'll only bring you trouble.
After a while,
Song
he spat out the
Qing-shu
herbs he
smiled.
was chewing
Actually,
and applied
even
them
if you
to the
don't
other
say
person's
it,
wounds.
I know who you are.
Shinbiju
Really?
didn't know
The
if she
young
was
girl had a
angry,
suspicious look
embarrassed,
on her
or
face.
grateful.
Then
She
who do you
only
think
felt
I
that the
am?
medicine was
Song
cool
Qing-shu
and
smiled and
comfortable.
said, although
You
she
are my
didn't understand
long-lost
medicine,
daughter.
she
The
knew
young
that
girl
it should
was
be
done
the right
first.
thing to do.
After
The man
confirming
tore
that
off
she
a
hadn't
piece of
heard
cloth
wrong,
from his clothes.
she couldn't
and
help but
bandaged her
become
wounds.
angry.
Feeling
You,
his
what nonsense are you
gentleness,
talking about?
Shinbiju's
Song
heart
Qing-shu
became
was also
even
a bit
more
depressed.
confused. Are
In
you
order
Xiao
to
Zhao?
dissolve the
The young
awkwardness
girl
in her
opened her
heart,
mouth in
she took the
surprise.
initiative to
I
find
didn't
a
expect
topic
you to
of
recognize
conversation.
me. Then you're my
Big Brother
daughter.
Song,
There's no
why are
mistaking
your medical
it.
skills so high?
Song Qing-shu's expression was as if he had expected it. Even through the veil, one could
Chapter
see that
1907.
Xiao Zhao's face was
Shinbiju
flushed red.
had been raised
It was
in a
obvious
boudoir
that she was
and had
very
occasionally
angry
heard
at
other
this
young
time.
ladies talk
But
about
her
Song
gentle
Qing-shu.
personality,
However,
prevented her from
at the
speaking
time,
ill of him.
he had just been a stranger
Young
to
Master
her,
Song,
and she
please
hadn't
behave
paid
yourself.
much attention to
This
him.
kind of joke is
so
not
she knew
funny.
very little
In
about
fact,
him.
Song
Later,
Qing-shu
when she
really
had met
wanted
him
to
in
see how
Liao,
Xiao Zhao,
he had become her only
who had
hope
always been
for
considerate
survival.
and gentle,
She couldn't help
would
but
look
start
like
asking
when she was
around
angry.
about Song
However,
Qing-shu,
in the
and
end,
gradually
he
learned
gave up on the
many things
idea
about him,
of continuing
including
to
his
tease her.
emotional
He took out a
entanglement
small
with the sect
and
leader of the
exquisite
exquisite golden
sect,
flower and
Zhou
said,
Zhuo.
"Look at this."
His pitiful encounter
When
at the
Xiao
lion
Zhao's
slaughtering
angry
conference,
eyes
and
saw
then
the
his
golden
sudden
flower,
reappearance
they
in the
instantly
Jianghu
turned into
after
shock.
a period of silence.
She snatched it away.
His name had
and
shaken
looked at
the
it
world.
carefully.
Everything was
This is the
filled
token
with
of
mystery
love that
and
my
dreaming,
father gave to my
making
mother.
her curious
Why is it
about
with you?
this man.
Song
Since she
Qing-shu
roughly
was
knew
taken
what had
aback.
happened to him,
He
over
never
the years,
expected that
she
Han
could
Qinya
naturally
would be the
hear
one
the
to give it to
helplessness
Tadish.
in his voice.
Tadish had given
After
it to
all,
him
because
he
she
had
was
been
worried
injured
that he
and
would
poisoned.
bump into Xiao
If it was
Zhao
someone
on
else,
the road, they would have
back
died
then,
more than
he was
10
complaining
times
about
over.
how could it be
He was
so
able to train his
coincidental
ability
to
to
bump
cure
into her
injuries
so quickly.
and poisons,
Of course,
completely.
it's a
by
gift from
risking
your
his
mother.
life.
Thinking of this,
Song Qing-shu
Shinbiju
reached out
suddenly
and
felt
took the
sorry
golden
for
flower
the man
back.
in front of her.
Xiao Zhao
Outsiders only saw
Han
his
Qinya
glory
waved his
in front
hand
of others.
casually.
How many
In the
people
blink of an
cared
eye,
about how many
the
times he
golden
had
flower
struggled
in her
on the edge
hand
of life
disappeared
and death.
without a trace.
Your meridians were
She didn't even
all
see
severed
Han
at the
Qinya's
lion
move.
slaughtering
Her martial
conference.
arts weren't
How did you
weak to
recover?
begin with.
Shinbiju
After becoming the Persian
asked
cult's
softly.
leader, she
Song
was even
Qing-shu
more
helped her
qualified
with
to
medicine.
learn the cult's
Since he had
profound
nothing else to
martial
do,
arts.
he
Later
casually
on,
chatted with her.
she received
He
enlightenment
talked about
from
how
some
he
of the
had
cult's elders.
wandered the Jianghu,
Her internal energy
how he had
was
coincidentally
comparable
learned from
to
Wang
an
Yuyan
expert who
that
had
the
been
divine
famous for
illuminating
decades.
scripture
In
might
addition,
be able to cure him.
she had memorized
and then how he
the
had gone to
heaven
the prison in
and earth
Jingzhou.
great shift.
These
in
things
the
weren't
secret
too
passage
big
of
of
the Bright
secret.
Summit. So he didn't
Although
try to
she
hide
couldn't
them.
cultivate it to the
Shinbiju
seventh
couldn't
layer
help
like
but
Zhang
sigh.
Wuji,
The
she was still
youngness
able
of
to
the
reach
Wang
the
family
third
of
layer.
Gusu, the
His
heaven and
both
earth great
beautiful and
shift,
talented.
was
I
extremely
didn't think she would
difficult
also
to
be
cultivate.
skilled in all
The
the
cultivation
martial
of
arts
the
in
first
world.
two layers would
Hearing her
take
tone,
at least
Song
7
Shu
to
was
14
startled.
years. You know each
If there
other.
was no progress
Biju and
after
nodded
cultivating
slightly.
for 21 years,
We met once.
the third layer
the talent
should not
and
be
temperament
cultivated.
she displayed
Back
at the time
then,
caused
the previous leader
everyone
of the
in the
Ming
circle
dynasty
to praise her.
Yang Dingtian
Only now did
was
Song
only able to
Shu
cultivate
remember
to the
that they were
third
both
layer.
young
He had
misses of
only
Jiangnan.
broken through
The two
to the
places
fourth
weren't
layer
too
before
far
his death.
apart.
This
And
was
their
also
families
why
all
no
had some
one was
influence
able to
in court.
cultivate
It
to
was
the
normal
seventh
for them
layer
to have
and
met each other.
resurrect
Wang
venerated
Yin
Ming
obviously
for the
wouldn't be
past
discussing
1,000
the
years.
fighting and
As for
killing
Zhang
of these noble
Wuji,
ladies.
it was all because
So
of the
Biju
assistance of the
naturally
9
didn't
Yang
know
divine
that
art.
Wang Yuyan
He had been
was
cultivating the
well-versed
9
in the
Yang
martial
divine
arts
art
in the
schools.
valley for
Brother
5
Song,
years without
I didn't
any
expect you to be able to
distractions.
find a solution
Later
in
on,
that kind of
he
situation.
relied on monk
Biju really
Shuabu's
admires
Chinquin
you.
bag
If
to
it was
achieve
anyone
phenomenal
else,
success.
they would have already despaired,
which was why he was able to
Shin
reach the
Bijun
7th
looked at
layer
him
in
with
just
admiration.
half a day.
I'm
Even
not a
so,
saint.
it was
How could I
because
not
of the
be in
main
despair?
character's cheat.
Song Shu's
Otherwise,
side,
Why would
But so what if I was in
Tian be
despair?
able to use the third layer of the heaven and
Was there
earth
nothing
great
I could
shift
do?
and
As long as I
crushed
don't give up,
Kuan like a
I will
chicken?
eventually find
He even
hope.
made Sandu
As long as I don't
sit
give
in
up,
meditation for
there will
30
always be
years
hope.
to think
Shin
of a
Bijuan
countermeasure.
thought to
In the
herself.
end, Zhang
Thinking back
Wuji
to what had
relied
happened
on
to
her
her
family.
Nanyang divine
She
art.
felt the
Deeply
seventh layer
moved.
of the heaven and
Have a good
earth great
rest.
shift.
I'll go
the
out and
Taiji
take a
fist
look.
sword,
Song
and the Saint
Qingshu
Flame
said
order
as he stood
to
up.
defeat
Don't
Chen
leave.
Kuan and
Shin
San
Bijuan
wasn't that subconsciously
easy.
Xiao
Xiao Zhao
She
was
suddenly
able to
realized something
cultivate to the
in her
third
face
layer,
turned
apart
red.
from her
She hurriedly
innate talent
explained,
and intelligence.
I just woke up.
It was also
so I'm not
because of the
sleepy
internal
yet.
energy
That's
that the
true.
elders of the
Song
sect had
Qingshu
imbued
nodded.
into her.
Shin Bijuan
But this also
continued to
brought
ask,
about the same
right,
problem,
Brother
as
Zhang
Zhang Wuji.
There were rumors
which
that
had
you were
an
poisoned by the
unstable
world's
foundation.
#1
Right
poison.
now, the
Her
golden
martial
rippling
arts were
flower.
obviously
How
not
did you cure it in
inferior to
Yangzhou?
Yang and her. With
This
this she was
kind of
being restrained by the
devastatingly
opponent's
beautiful
spear.
woman,
Had it
looking
not
at
been
you
for
with a
Song
face full of
Qingshu,
expectation,
who happened to pass
it would
by,
be very difficult
she might have
for
been
any
captured
man
and
to
made
refuse
into
her
a wife.
request.
Song
Impossible.
Qingshu thought
This
that
is
he
my
still
mother's
needed
most
to use her
cherished
win
possession.
over
How could she give it to
Xiaolong.
you?
So it would not
Xiao
be
Zhao
bad to
regained
use
her
this
senses
opportunity
and
spoke
spoke
closer
quickly.
to her. Song
Thus,
Qingshu
he
roughly told her what
flower
happened
in
again.
Yangzhou.
Your mother and I
Shin
are good
Bijuan had
friends.
only heard that he had been poisoned
She wanted
by the
me to be your
golden rippling
godfather,
flower in Yangzhou.
but she was afraid
But
that
how
she
could the
wouldn't be
Jianghu
around the
people
next
know
time
the
she met him.
details?
So
Now that she had
gave this
personally
to me as a
experienced
keepsake.
it, she
After
finally
considering for a
understood
moment,
how
he gave an
frightening that
ambiguous
night had been.
description of
When
his
she heard that he
relationship
had been
with
poisoned
Tadish.
by the golden
If he were to
rippling
speak the
flower,
truth,
and that he had been
it would
chased
put
by
Tadish
all
in
kinds
an
of
awkward
experts.
position. Even though she
Furthermore,
knew that he
Xiao
had
Zhao
turned
must
his
have a
misfortune
lot of
into a
respect for her
blessing
father.
in the end,
Han
she
Qinya.
still felt
There was
nervous.
no need for him to
When
give
she
her
heard that he had
any
finally
rebellious
left Yangzhou
thoughts
City,
right from the start.
she let out a sigh
After
of relief.
listening to his
However,
explanation.
when she
Xiao
heard that
Zhao
the pursuers had
reluctantly
also
felt
left the
relieved.
city,
But when she
suddenly
became
recalled
nervous
the
again,
word
when Song
Godfather,
Qingshu
her
said that
face
the guards who had
instantly
disguised
turned
themselves
red.
as the
How can I
Machi
do that?
family's granddaughter
You're not much older
had
than me.
sneaked onto the
What do you
ship
mean by
and
not
escaped
much
the
older?
encirclement.
Song
She couldn't
Qingshu
help
sized
but
her
admire
up.
him.
You're
Brother
only
Song,
16
you
or
didn't
17
panic in
years
that
old,
kind of situation,
but I'm already
and
over
actually
30.
thought of such a clever
I'm almost
plan.
twice your age.
You really are brave
After saying
and
that,
resourceful.
he cursed in his
I've
heart.
also heard
in
of
the
that
original
young
work,
mistress of the
Song
Prime Minister
Qingshu
residence.
appeared at the age
She
of
is different from the
27
Machi
or 28.
family's sinister
In ancient
and
times,
ruthless people.
he would be considered
She
old.
is very kind,
Yet,
and can be
at
said
such
to be
an
an
old
anomaly
age,
in the
he had
Machi
yet to
family,
marry,
even
and
if she
have
knew
children.
your identity.
Instead,
she most
he was
likely wouldn't say
painstakingly pursuing
anything
a
to
young
avoid
lady
harming
like
your life.
Zhou Zhuo.
Bijuan is right.
You are only 10
The
years
young
older.
mistress of the Machi
Xiao
family
Zhao curled her lips.
is indeed
In
a
other
good
words,
person.
the gap between them
Thinking
wasn't
about
that
how
big.
he had relied
in
on
this
her.
world, to
A
temporarily
teenager is
control
old enough
the
to be a
golden
father.
rippling
Song
flowers
Qingshu suddenly
Song
smiled
Qingshu's
strangely.
heart shook.
My good
The
daughter,
process
call me
was
Godfather.
incomparably beautiful.
I don't want to.
When he thought
Xiao
back to
Zhao
it.
rejected without
How
a
did she
second
save
thought.
you? Could
When
she
she
be
saw
an
the
expert?
keepsake,
Noticing
she was
the
already
strange
half
expression on his
convinced.
face.
After all,
Shin
it was her
Bijuan
mother's
asked
personal
curiously.
possession.
It was impossible
Song
for an
Qingshu
outsider
knew
to
that he
obtain.
definitely couldn't
However,
tell her how he
she
saved
couldn't
her.
understand
So
why
he
her
could
mother
only
would
find
want her to
another
recognize
excuse.
this man.
The golden
who wasn't
rippling
much
flower
older
was
than
given
her
to Li
as a godfather.
Kashio by Machi
Why are
Su.
you so disobedient? Song Qingshu
As the young
snorted.
mistress of the Wan
Do you
family,
believe that your father
Qifang
won't punish
just
you?
so happened to have the
Bah.
antidote.
You are so
Because
young.
the Island of
Yet you
Heroes
call
was
me father.
inextricably linked
Xiao Zhao
to the
hurriedly
southern
distanced
Song
herself
dynasty's
from him.
court, and
Wait
was
until I
also
see my
involved in
mother.
Jiabayu's
Who
death.
knows if you use some
It
trick
wasn't
to
convenient
trick
for
her
him
into
to
reveal
reveal
what had
keepsake.
happened to the Island
It's
of
fine if you
Heroes to
don't
her.
recognize me
This was
for the
also
time
to
being.
protect her.
At least
to
let
a
me
certain
see what you
extent.
look like.
After
Otherwise,
all, in this
when I meet
world,
your mother,
the more
I
secrets
don't know what your
one
daughter
knew,
looks like.
the more dangerous
Song
it
Qingshu
was.
said with a
The
smile.
young mistress of the Wan
Don't call me
family
daughter.
is really
There was a
kind.
hint of anger
If
in
I have
Xiao
the chance to
Zhao's
meet her
tone.
next time, the reason
I
why
must
I
thank
cover
her
my
properly
face is because
Shin
I don't want my
Bijuan said
whereabouts to be
instinctively.
exposed.
After
She was a
saying
mixed race
this,
child. She
although
quickly
the
realized
characteristics
that it
of
was
the Western
inappropriate.
regions had
She wasn't
faded
related to
from
him
her
in any way.
appearance.
So
It
how
couldn't
could
be
she hidden
thank him.
from the eyes
In
of
order to
those who were
dispel the
observing.
awkwardness in her
Now
heart
that she was
she
hiding from the
hurriedly
cult's
asked
killers,
about some of the famous
she
events
naturally
that had
had
to
to
be
be
careful.
around Song Qingshu. Song Qing-shu
Chapter
patiently
1897.
questions. When the
Aside
veil
from
was
some
taken
things
off,
that involved
her
other
eyes
people,
were bright.
he didn't
and
hide
full
anything
of spirit.
else.
Her
Over the
eyebrows
next few
were
days,
slender,
under
and her
Song
nose was
Qing-shu's
straight.
careful care,
Her skin
the
was swelling
crystal
on
clear
Shun
and
Bijuan's
soft
leg,
like jade.
gradually
There
subsided.
were dimples on her cheeks,
She became more
and her
spirited.
face was fair
Brother
and
Song.
sweet.
It's
The
all
most
because of me
eye-catching
that your
thing about
journey
her
has been
was
delayed.
that her
These
eyes
past
were
few days.
faintly blue.
Song Qing
She had
bright
smiled.
eyes and
Don't
white
feel
teeth,
too pressured.
and her smile
I
was
can't
like
just
that
watch
of
you
a
die,
peach.
can I?
Compared to the women of the
Besides,
Central
I've already
Plains,
reserved a certain
she had a
amount of time,
unique charm,
so it won't be a
Song
big problem.
Qing-shu's memories
Although he
of
spoke
Xiao
casually,
Zhao in the depths
the
of his mind
attentive
were
Shen
already
Bijuan
very vague.
keenly
He only
sensed the
vaguely
worry in his
remembered
eyes.
that she was
After
very
a moment
young
of
at that
hesitation,
time,
she
and her
said,
body had not
"Brother
yet grown
Song,
up.
should we
Although her
switch to riding
appearance
horses?"
was
Although
extremely
the carriage
beautiful,
was
it
comfortable,
could not conceal
it was far
her
slower than
childishness.
riding a horse.
Now that a few years
But I
had
don't remember you
passed,
riding a horse.
coupled with the tempering
Song
of being a
Qing-shu
cult
asked
leader
in
who
confusion.
stood above tens of thousands of people, She had now grown into a beautiful
Chapter
and elegant
1908.
woman. Song
I've suffered a
Qing-shu was a
great
bit
loss.
surprised that she would
Song
say this.
Qing-shu
He
looked like
asked,
he was beating
"Then
his
do you have
chest
any experience
and
riding
stamping
a
his
horse?"
feet.
No.
Xiao Zhao was
Shin
stunned.
Bijun shook her
What's
head.
wrong with you?
There weren't
What
many
great
horses
loss.
in the entire
Song
Southern
Qing-shu
Song
sighed
dynasty.
deeply.
As a
If I
daughter
had
of
known
a
that you
noble
were
family,
so beautiful,
it was even more
I wouldn't have
impossible for
agreed
her
to be your
to come into
godfather with your
contact
mother.
with something
Then I could have
like
pursued
riding
you.
a horse.
Now,
Then
I'm
I'm
afraid
afraid
I'll
I'll
have
take
to teach you
advantage
first.
Once
Nonsense.
you're proficient,
I'll
Xiao
let you
Zhao
ride a horse
spat,
by yourself.
and her face
Song
suddenly turned
Qing-shu
red.
said hesitantly.
My mother hates
Shin
glib
Bijun
tongued people
slightly
most.
lowered her head.
I don't know why she took
It was
you as a
impossible
friend.
to see her
She
expression.
couldn't say the word,
but
Godfather
she replied in
in
an
the
almost
end.
inaudible
So
voice.
she could only say
Okay.
it in another way.
Song Qing-shu,
however, was taken
when a woman
aback.
was complimented
He had
by
thought
a
that
man,
she would reject
she
him
was
outright.
very happy in her
How could a
heart,
virtuous
even though
lady
she said no.
like her be entangled with a man
she was not really
in
angry.
such a way?
I'm just
It had to be
joking.
known that it was like
Song
asking for her
Qing-shu
life
put away his
to
smile
take off her
and
shoes
said
and socks.
seriously.
But she
What do
just
you
had
plan
to
to
say
do next?
okay.
Don't
He
you
was
want to go
worried
back
that she
to see
didn't
your
know how
mother?
to ride a horse.
Xiao Zhao shook
So
her
he
head.
had to add,
From what you
"You
said,
don't have the
I can
slightest
tell that my
foundation.
mother should be doing
At
well
first,
these past 2
we can
years.
only ride together
I'm not in a
because there
hurry
will
to see her.
inevitably be
I
physical
plan to-
contact when I
She
teach
suddenly
you."
stopped
I
talking
know, and looked a
Shin
little
Bijun
embarrassed.
wanted to dig a hole
Song
in the ground
Qing-shu was
and hide
very
in it.
smart. Everyone said that
immediately
he was a
reacted.
man who knew
Are you going to
how
see
to
your
win a
cult
woman's
leader's
heart.
son?
But
Xiao
why did he look
Zhao's
like a
cheeks
fool
were
now?
slightly red.
Of course,
and her eyes
she kept
showed
hinting
a
to herself that the main reason
Yes,
she had
I
suggested
haven't seen young
this was
master
because
for
she had
many
been
years.
poisoned,
Back
causing
then,
him to delay
I
his
shouldered
journey
too much
in order to
and
save
couldn't
her.
always accompany
She had
him
no
and
way to
serve young
repay him.
master.
So she
Now,
could
I
only
have
do her
completely
best to make it up
removed
to
the
him.
heavy
The
burden
corner
on
of
my
Song
shoulders
Qing-shu's
and
mouth
can accompany young
rose
master.
slightly.
Hearing
Song
her say
Qing-shu
this,
couldn't help
he
but
naturally
sigh.
wouldn't be stupid
Zhang
enough
Wuji's
to
luck with
confirm it
women
again.
was really
Any man
exuberant.
would tacitly
One
agree
after
to
another,
physical contact
beautiful
with
women
such
were
a beauty,
deeply devoted
although
to
it
him.
wasn't that.
Although it was a little
enough to make a
disrespectful
man
to speak
proud.
ill of others
But he
behind
suddenly
their
put away
backs.
his smile
Song
because he was
Qing-shu
currently
felt
in
the
a
need to
relationship
remind her now
and
that
didn't
the
want to betray a
situation had
woman's
changed.
feelings.
But the
He wanted
current
to say
Zhang
something
Wuji
to her,
is not the
but he
Zhang
suddenly
Wuji
realized
in
that he
memory.
couldn't bring
He has
himself
already been
to say it.
possessed.
Was
by
he
the
supposed to
revered
tell her
Ming,
not to like his
venerated
brother
Ming,
because he had
Xiao Zhao
too
was
many
a little
beautiful
surprised.
wives?
Just thinking
Having
about
been
it
the Persian
made him want to beat
headquarters
her
for
up.
so many
Moreover,
years, this kind
she
of young
naturally
miss would
knew
definitely
who
be
venerated
very
Ming
thin-skinned.
was.
Everything
said that,
originated from the
she would
heaven
definitely
and
be
earth
too
great
ashamed
shift.
to show her face.
Song Qing-shu
Perhaps
roughly
she would even
explained to
think
her
of
how
committing
revered Ming
suicide.
had worked hard
Although
to tamper
Song
with the
Qing-shu
seventh
didn't
level
have
of
any
the
love
heaven
for Shin
and earth
Bijun
great
right now.
shift. Facing
It's
such
no
a
wonder
beauty
that in the secret
no
tunnel
man
of
would
the
be able to
light
harden
peak,
his heart.
young
and watch her
master was
die.
able to master
Furthermore,
the other 6 levels
she was
in
related
one
to
go.
Shun Xiaolong's
but always felt
attitude.
that the 7th
If it was
level
before,
wasn't
he would
enough.
have most likely
Xiao Zhao's
pursued
little
Shin
mouth
Bijun
in order to
slightly
win
over
and her
Shin
face
Xiaolong.
was full of
But
shock.
this time, he was in the
Back
Jin
then,
Kingdom and
she
Liao,
had accompanied
and he had to
Zhang
deal with a
Wuji to
few
practice
beauties
the
in a
heaven
short period
and
of
earth
time.
great
Although
shift
he had a
in the
divine
secret tunnel.
technique
So she was
protecting his
very
body,
clear about
he
these
couldn't
things.
help but feel a
The first
trace
person
of
to realize that
exhaustion in his
Zhang
heart.
Wuji had
Even more
changed
so,
was Zhao Min.
he felt sorry
Then,
for those beauties.
She decisively returned to Mongolia and
They
led
loved
the
him
Ruyang mansion to
wholeheartedly,
fight,
but he
against
fell
the
in
Ming
love
dynasty.
with every one of
Song
them he met.
Qing-shu
It was far
continued.
too unfair
As for
to him.
Zhou Zhuo,
So he didn't want to let down
it was
any more of
entirely
them.
his
I want to
peerless
be a good
charm
person,
that made her
but
change
I
her
make
mind.
too many mistakes.
He was somewhat
I
shamelessly
won't be a bad
hinting to
person,
himself,
but I'm not completely
no wonder I
bad.
heard that Miss
What a pain in the
Zhao
ass.
and young master
Song
turned against each other in
Qing-shu
Persia.
secretly despised
At that
himself.
time, I thought it was
seeing
strange
that it was getting late.
Since Miss
Song
Zhao
Qing-shu
loved young
untie the
master
carriage
so much
and abandoned
why would
it
she
in the
turn
forest.
against him?
I
Then
even
he
thought
gathered
that
the
young
horses
master
and
and
said,
Miss Zhou
"Let's go."
had
Shin
rekindled their
Bijun
old
nodded
love
and prepared to
Xiao
climb
Zhao muttered
onto
to
a
herself.
horse.
Suddenly,
However,
she
she
remembered
normally
that
wouldn't be able to
Zhou
easily
Zhuo
climb
was
onto
the wife
a
of the
big
man in
horse
front
like
of
the
her.
north.
She couldn't
let
help
alone
but
now
look
that
a
her leg
little
was injured.
embarrassed.
Seeing
She
her
stuck out her
anxious
tongue
expression
in embarrassment.
Song Qing-shu
Miss
walked
Zhao
forward.
is smart
I'll help
and
you.
calculative.
With that,
If young
he
master
put his
had
arm
really
around her
changed,
waist,
she would
and
definitely
gently
have
placed her
noticed
on
it
the horse.
immediately.
Song
Although
Qing-shu
Shin Bijun
secretly
was
sighed with
mentally
emotion.
prepared.
Speaking
She
of
still
which,
jumped in
he had to
fright
thank
when she was
venerated suddenly
me.
carried by
If he hadn't interfered,
she instinctively
based on the
clamped her
relationship
legs
between
together.
Zhao Min
The
and
horse
Zhang
didn't
Wenji,
understand.
he was
what
afraid
going
that
on.
he and Zhao
After
Min
receiving
would
the
never be
usual
able to be
order,
together.
it
Since you
subconsciously
already know the
galloped
whole
forward.
story,
Shen
you still want to go to
Bijun
Zhang
didn't
Wenji now?
expect this to
Song
happen.
Qingshu
She let
asked.
out a startled
Xiao
cry.
Zhao frowned
How
slightly.
about you sit still? Seeing
Her
is
body
believing.
tilted,
I still
and
need
she
to
fell
see
to the
young
ground.
master with my
And
own
Zhang
eyes to confirm
She had
the
heard
truth.
many rumors about a
However,
certain
her
young
heart sank.
master
For the
accidentally
past 2
falling down
years,
while
the
learning how
headquarters
to
had been
ride a horse.
receiving some special
If he didn't
orders.
break his leg
Back then,
his face
the
was
great elder
disfigured.
said that it was
There was also
venerated
one who
Ming's
fell to the
order.
ground.
She
and
thought that
broke
the
his
great
neck.
elder
He would have
was
to
using
spend
the
the
rest of
venerated
his life
Ming's
in
name
bed to do
no
his
matter
own
what the
thing.
situation
Now,
was.
it seemed that
She
young
couldn't
master
bear it.
had most
She was
likely
terrified,
been, but she
you
couldn't
know
make
that
a
he has
sound.
changed.
Her mouth
Yet
was
you still
wide
wanna
open.
go?
But she
Both
couldn't
Xiao
call
Min
for help.
and Zhou
Just as her mind
left
left him blank after
a
another.
mellow voice
Don't you believe
entered
me?
her ears.
Song
I'm
Qingshu
sorry.
frowned.
I was careless.
If only
and
Tadish was
scared
here,
Bijuan.
it would indeed be
Shin
inconvenient
Bijuan
for
no
him
longer
to interfere
felt
with her
the
cold
will.
wind. Xiao Zhao shook her
Instead,
head.
She
Even
felt
if
like
the
she was
whole
in a
world
warm
betrays young
embrace.
master.
She
I will
opened her
still
eyes
stay by his
and
side.
found that she was
Furthermore,
lying in Song
if young master has
Qingshu's
really been
embrace.
possessed
The
by
two of them were
venerated
riding
men,
horses
I will
together.
also work hard to find a way to get rid of
She sat up
venerated men
straight
so that
and wanted
young
to
master
break
can
free
recover.
from his hands.
However,
Song Qingshu
she immediately
originally
remembered
wanted to
what she had
persuade
just
her,
promised.
but after hearing
In
her
her tense
words,
body,
he felt
slowly
deep
relaxed.
respect for her.
Song Qingshu
Zhang
smiled.
Wuji has no
Bijuan,
regrets in this life.
Your body
to
really
have
is as
such a
light
loyal
as a
handmaiden
swallow.
like you.
I couldn't even
Zhao
feel your
heart
weight
sank.
when I picked you up.
I'm not as good as you say.
How could that be?
It's just that
I
I
ate
share
a
the
lot
same
in the palace
origin
a few
as
days
young
ago.
master.
and
I've
definitely
dabbled
fatter
in the
than
martial
before.
arts of the Ming Dynasty.
Shin Bijuan
That's why I'm
hastily
thinking of helping
explained.
young master
Song
recover.
Qingshu
All
couldn't
right,
help but
since you
sigh.
insist, whether it was
I
the
won't
women of the
persuade you
future
anymore.
or the women of this
Song
world,
Qingshu paused.
they all misunderstood
But you must be
the
careful
word fact
and protect yourself.
He was holding a young
Xiao
woman in his
Zhao
arms.
smiled.
That
Don't worry.
soft,
I've been the
boneless
cult master
feeling
for
and the
so many
faint
years.
fragrance of a young
Not only
woman
did I have to
made
deal
Song
with the
Qingshu's
fiendish
heart
Mongols,
as hard
but I
as
also
stone.
had to deal
Now
with
his
those
body
old
was as hard
foxes
as
in the
stone.
cult.
Brother
If I didn't
Song,
have a mind of my own,
did you bring a sword?
I would have been
Shin
swallowed
Bijuan
whole
felt
long
a
ago.
bit uncomfortable.
Seeing the calmness in
and
her eyes,
subconsciously
Song
twisted her
Qingshu
waist.
came.
I don't
to
need
his
a weapon
senses.
anymore.
A scholar
Song
who has been away
Qingshu
for
replied
3
with a bit of
days
pride.
must be looked at in a new light. He
Moreover,
didn't understand why
Xiao
she
Zhao
would
had
ask
always
this
been
question.
smart and calm.
Then,
coupled
Shin
with the
Bijuan
experience
suddenly
she
had over
realized
the
something.
past few years,
Her face
and the
turned as
fact that
red
she
as the
knew
sunset,
venerated Ming's
and she
identity.
didn't dare move.
It was more than enough
Song
for her to
Qingshu
protect herself.
finally reacted.
If that's
He
the
didn't
case,
think that an
I won't say
experienced
anything
man like him
more.
would fall
You be
for a little
careful.
girl.
Song
In order to
Qingshu
dissolve
said.
the awkward atmosphere,
Also, if you
he
really
quickly
run
changed
into
the
danger
topic
that you can't
and focused
resolve,
on teaching her
just
how to
tell
ride
him
a
that I have a
horse.
way to solve his
However,
biggest problem.
for some
He won't
reason,
dare to touch you then.
Shun Bijuan,
What's his biggest
who
problem?
seemed to be a very smart
Xiao
girl,
Zhao was confused.
couldn't learn how to ride a horse.
If something really happened,
Fortunately, would
Song
venerated Ming
Qingshu
give
had
up
brought
just
several
because of
horses
this
with him.
sentence?
Otherwise,
Song Qingshu
even a Fergana
smiled
horse would
strangely.
collapse from exhaustion.
This is an adult's
after
matter.
carrying 2
You
people
kids
for
shouldn't
a long
ask too
time.
much.
In this
If
way,
venerated
the
Ming
two
hadn't
hadn't
been
southwest.
rendered impotent
They
by
crossed
his
the
modified
plank road
version
in the
of the
Qinling
absorbing
Mountains.
star's
Great technique.
past Hanzhou,
He wouldn't have dared to let
entered the
Xiao
silver
Zhao
pavilion.
send herself
Finally,
into the
they were
tiger's
getting
mouth.
closer and
Of course,
closer to Chengdu.
It was not convenient
They found
for
an inn
him
in
to tell the little
Yanzhou
girl about
and
this.
settled down.
If you don't want to
Song
say it, then
Qingshu
don't.
stood by the window
Why are you pretending to
and
be an
looked in the
adult?
direction of Chengdu.
Xiao Zhao couldn't help.
He was a bit
but
worried
mumble.
about the current situation
By the way,
in Sichuan.
I heard that the
Although
Mongols
Shan
and the
Xiaolong
Persians
was
are sending
loyal to
people to
him.
capture you.
He didn't have
Won't
any
your journey
effective
be too
means to keep
dangerous?
him in check.
Song Qingshu
The only people who were
suddenly
truly
thought.
on his side were Wan Xingzhu and Lin Pingzhi.
Chapter 1898.
Speaking of Lin Pingzhi,
Hearing this,
when he used
Song
the death
Qingshu
chamber
was
to
filled
eliminate
with
King
admiration.
Ili in Xixia,
Unexpectedly,
it
it
became
became
the
the
beginning of the
Taizu's
turmoil in
forecrossing
Xixia.
of the Crimson
After
River.
returning to Sichuan,
No wonder she had
he
been
relied
the
on
cult
this
leader of the
contribution
Persian cult
and Song
for so many
Qingshu's
years.
arrangements.
Her knowledge
quickly
and
rise
strategy
to the top
were not something
Now,
ordinary
he was
women
about to
could
become the
compare
third
with.
in command.
In fact, it was
Sichuan.
normal to think about
However,
it.
when
His foundation
Xiao
was still too
young,
shallow.
she stood
and he
out to
couldn't
command
compare
the
to 5
Shin
element
Xiao.
flags when Yang
At this time,
Xiao and the
Shun
others
Bijuan's
were
cry of
poisoned
alarm
and blocked
came
the
from
attack
next
of the
door.
Yuan dynasty
Song
soldiers.
Qingshu was
Her
startled.
commanding ability
Did some bad
was
guys
evident.
break into her room?
However,
He hastily
she had
ran
always
to the
appeared
next
in front of
room
Zhang
through the
Wuji
window.
as a little maid
However,
who understood
when he entered
flowers,
the room,
which
he
made
didn't see the
people
shadow
ignore
of the
her
bad
abilities.
guys.
Now,
He only
that she
saw
had
the
trained
whole
in
room
Persia
for a few
filled
years.
with flying
She had
gauze
grown even
and
faster.
Shun Bijuan
He-
standing
but it
quietly
is said
in
that
front of him.
Zhang Wuji has
Song
not been a
Qingshu
brightness
was
peak
about
for a
to
long
open
time.
his mouth.
No one
ask
knows where he is
but what
gone.
happened in front
Song
of him made him
Qingshu reminded
speechless.
her.
He
saw
saw
Zhao
Shun
nodded.
Bijuan slowly.
I have also
untied
found
her
out about this
clothes
recently
and took them off.
so I plan to go
She didn't
somewhere
take
else
them
to
off
find
very
it.
quickly
He-
because she
the
was,
world is so
after
big,
all,
and
a
there are
virgin
so
girl.
many people.
Taking the
Where are you gonna
initiative to
find
take
them?
off her clothes
Song
in front of
Qingshu
man
frowned.
made her
He
feel
Xiao
very
Zhao
shy
smiled sweetly.
and ashamed. As long
Her
as her
hands
hands
kept
kept
trembling.
trembling, I will find
After
it.
taking off her
He will.
clothes,
Be careful.
more
on
than
the way.
half of her flawless
Seeing that
body
she
was
was
so
so determined
determined in front of
Song
Song
Qingshu
did not
Song
try to persuade
Qingshu
her
couldn't
anymore.
help but
He
speak.
Xiao Zhao was
Bijuan,
about to say
what are you?
goodbye to him
when she suddenly remembered something. She attacked him directly. Song
Chapter
Qing Shu
1909.
instinctively grabbed her wrist
Song Qing Shu
and sent a deep
swallowed
voice
with difficulty.
"What are you doing?" Although he really wanted to see
I
her
heard
take
that
it
your
off,
martial arts
his
are very
rationality
high.
won out.
I want to try.
Bijuan, a trace of
What are you
astonishment
doing?
flashed across
Shin Bijuan bit her
Xiao
lips
Zhao's face
and said in a small
her martial
voice,
arts skill
"Brother
was
Song,
no longer what it
I
used
can't
to be.
repay your
On the Persian
kindness.
side, I can
Other
only.
than the great elder
Song
Huishan,
Shu stopped
no
her.
one dared to say that they
Bijuan,
could win against
you're being
her.
too serious.
But the unexpected
I
attack
only helped you
just
out of
now
morality.
was
I didn't want to
easily
take advantage of
neutralized
you.
by the opponent.
You don't have to be like
and at the
this.
same time was
Shin
countered.
Bijuan
The
raised
higher
her head,
one's martial
and her
arts
voice
skill
became
was,
a bit more
the more
insistent.
one could understand
I still need
the
to take
power
revenge
of
for my
turning the
parents
complex
and the
into
entire
simple.
Shun family.
The opponent's
but I don't have the
ordinary
strength
claw
to even trust
did
a
not
chicken.
look like a
No matter
miracle,
how I think about
but
it,
it achieved
besides
an
Big Brother
extraordinary
song,
effect.
there is no
P,
one else in this
your martial
world
arts
that can help
aren't
me
weak
take
either.
revenge. Song
But
Ching
Big
Shu
Brother song,
let go of her
you have
wrist
already helped me so
and
much,
evaluated her
I don't have the
objectively.
face to ask
She
you
was
again.
well versed,
So
in
I
the
can
Persian
only
Ming cult's martial arts.
Song
and the
Ching
heaven
Shu side
and
and
earth
waved
great
his
shift.
hand, even
Sucking a
Jiang
blanket
Hu.
into his hand.
She could be
He
considered
walked
a
over
top-notch
and
master.
draped it over his body.
However,
Covering
she was
his
probably a high
dazzling
and mighty
white
cult
skin.
leader.
Bijuan, I really don't
herself.
understand.
That was
With your
why she
knowledge and
lacked
intelligence,
actual combat
why would you do
experience
such a
compared to those
simple and
grandmasters.
crude thing?
But
You
I was
could have been
still
less
subdued
direct
by you
with
in
your
one
beauty
move despite
and
my
temperament.
sneak attack.
It wouldn't have been
Xiao
difficult
Zhao
for me
was
to
a
fall
little
in love with
resentful.
you. Are you
How did you
afraid
practice
that I
your
won't
martial
avenge
arts?
you then?
Back
Doing
then,
this,
your
will
martial
only
arts
make you
weren't
look
this.
worse.
She quickly
Shin
stopped
Bijuan
speaking
smiled
because she
sadly.
realized that the
How could I
six
not know
major
that?
sects had
In
besieged
fact,
Light Peak.
I've been suffering
The
in
other
my heart
party
these past
must
few
not
days
want to
as
talk
well.
about the past.
I originally wanted to do what you said.
Everyone has their own
but
fate.
no matter how I thought about it,
Even
I
Zhang
couldn't
Wuji
use you
was
like
able to
this.
fall off a cliff.
It was better to
and
just
learn
give
the
you a
9
clear
yuan
prize
divine
from the
skill.
start and make a
Can't
fair
I
deal.
have a fortuitous
You're not a commodity.
encounter?
How can you give me a clear
Ching
price?
Shu was indifferent.
Song Ching
He
Shu's
Xiao Zhao
voice
smiled.
contained a trace of
Young
pity,
master is really
especially
cunning.
after hearing
After
her
talking for
struggle.
so long,
You can
you
imagine
didn't
what
say
kind of
anything.
suffering she had
He
to go
Song
through.
Ching Shu
Right
shook
now,
his finger.
I'm afraid
Secrets can
I'm
make
not
a
even
man more
comparable to a
charming.
commodity.
It was not that
Shin
he was being
Bijuan's
selfish,
eyes
but it was
turned red.
not good
If there
to
really was
spread
such a
the
beautiful
Mandy
commodity
Diana
in
to
the
the
world,
world.
I'm
Moreover,
afraid all the
she
men
was a
in the
little girl.
world would go crazy for
It's
it.
fine if young
Song
master
Ching Shu
doesn't want to
sighed.
say it.
Beautiful?
Xiao Zhao
Shin
suddenly
Bijuan's
blushed.
tears fell
But you were really bad.
uncontrollably.
You're so good
If
at
I was
martial
truly
arts.
beautiful,
That night,
I wouldn't have
you
been
pretended
abandoned by
that you
Brother
didn't know
Song.
martial arts
Right
to
now,
take advantage of
I feel like I'm not even as
He
good
Song
as those
Ching
brothel
Shu
girls I usually
said
look down
calmly.
on. I
Song
didn't say
Ching
that I
Shu
didn't know
finally
martial arts.
realized
You
that
just
his
thought that I was a
rejection
weak
might have
scholar
hurt her.
who could be bullied.
Thinking about it,
As for
she
taking
was a
advantage
stunning
of
beauty
me,
who grew
he
up
smiled
under
and
all
continued.
kinds of halos.
Although I did
and was
to save
pursued
you,
by thousands
I did
of
take
men.
advantage of you.
In the end,
She took the initiative
Zhao
to
snorted.
undress a man.
Next time,
only to
I'll
be
tell my
rejected.
mother and let
This
her
kind
see
of
your
blow
true
to her
colors.
confidence
Then
was
she left a
devastating,
wisp of
and it might even
fragrance
make her
and
feel
quickly
a great
disappeared into the
humiliation.
forest.
Sometimes,
Looking at her
a woman's
disappearing
logic
figure
was
so strange.
Song Ching Shu
She would not
sighed.
be glad that she
What your
had
mother
kept her
saw
chastity,
was not
but
only
would
my
cry
true
because
colors.
she was
He
not
suddenly,
attractive enough.
He realized a problem.
Song Ching Shu
How
had
should
a
he
headache.
explain to Taj Tish the next time he saw her?
He was a
He had clearly
soft-hearted
bumped
person
into her
and
daughter
didn't want to
again.
hurt anyone.
But in the end,
let alone
he
a
let her
woman
go,
making such
He's
a
thinking of
sacrifice.
this. He felt
Don't
a
cry.
headache. Let
coming
me talk
on.
to you.
This child,
Song Ching Shu
after being
carried
separated from her
Shin
mother for
Bijuan
so many
and
years,
placed her on the bed.
the first thing she
Then,
did after
he gently
returning
covered
was
her
to
with a
look for
blanket
Zhang
before
Wuji.
leaning against
Truly,
the side of the bed.
a grown
and sitting
girl
down.
cannot be kept
I
at
think I'm a
home.
bad woman.
He after that,
Shin
he
Bijuan's
continued on
perfect
his way to
face
Liao.
had a trace of
There were no
sadness.
other disturbances.
If you really were a
along the
bad
way.
woman, when he entered
You
the
would have
palace
pretended
and
to
fall
fall
in
in
love
love
with
with
me,
me,
and then
he was
used
startled
our
when he
love to
saw
make
her
me help
packing
you
her
get
luggage.
revenge.
What are you
Song
doing?
Ching Shu
He
used
seeing
his
his
finger
appearance
to gently
Zhao
wipe
Min
away
was
the
both
tears on her
surprised and
face.
happy.
But you
She
didn't.
threw herself
I
into
admire
his
that
arms
very
with
much.
a wisp of
How
fragrance.
could you admire a woman like
You
me?
came at the right time.
Shin Bijuan
I was just
clearly
worried.
didn't believe
He,
it.
her voluptuous
Song Ching
and
Shu
alluring
shook his
body
head.
gave
In my
off
heart,
an
no matter how
astonishing
high or low one's
elasticity.
status is,
With great
no matter how
difficulty,
strong or
Song
weak one's
Ching
martial
Shu
arts are,
calmed his
everyone
mind
is equal.
and asked,
You didn't turn
"Are you planning to
evil
leave?"
even in this
He
kind of
Zhao
situation.
Min grunted.
You weren't like
Yes.
many women in history
I've received
who
news that the
used their
Great
beauty
Khan has
to
already
put on a
conquered the
white
Western
lotus on the
countries
surface
and is returning
but
to
your
hell.
heart was
Because he
darker
was
than
too
ink.
busy before.
I admire your
He
pure
delegated
heart.
the power
In
of
my
the Eastern
eyes,
Front to
it
my
is
father
crystal clear
and a few
and
imperial
even more
grandsons.
beautiful than
Now
your
that the
appearance.
Great Khan has returned,
Feeling the sincerity,
the
in
power
his
of the upper
voice,
echelons will
Shin Bijuan
inevitably
finally
be
stopped
reshuffled.
crying.
I'm
and
worried
smiled.
about my father.
It seems seems that Brother
So I'm planning
Song
to go
really
back
doesn't
and
like
have
my
a look.
appearance.
Song
Song
Chin
Shu
couldn't help
almost
but
but
laugh.
If there is a man in
Ryong
this world who
household
doesn't
has
like
many
Bijuan's
soldiers
appearance,
and generals,
then he is
your
either
father
blind or
is the number
stupid.
one
Then
person
what is
in the
Brother
military,
Song's
and that
situation?
big brother of
Shin
yours
Bijuan
is
looked
also
at him
one of the
quietly.
famous generals in
Her
history.
eyes were still
What's there to worry
watery
about?
from crying. But they
It's
were
precisely
even
because
brighter
of this
than
that I'm
usual.
worried.
Song
The tallest
Shu
tree
didn't
in the
know what to
forest
say.
is the
After
first
a
to be
long time,
destroyed by the wind.
he reluctantly came up with an answer.
Zhao Min's
Maybe
brows
I am the
revealed
reincarnation
a deep worry.
of Liu Xiaohui.
I don't know if it's because
the
of
Liu
what I think
Xiaohui
about
who
during the
doesn't
day
panic
and what I
even when
dream
he's
at
in
night.
love. But I've been
Shin
feeling
Bijuan's
upset
expression
recently
became
and have some
strange.
bad dreams.
A few days ago,
So I'm planning to
when
go
Brother
back
Song
and
taught
help
me
my
how to
father
ride
and
a
Big
horse.
Brother. He wasn't as
Song
obedient
Shu
as the
was
rumors
about
say.
to advise her.
Thinking of his
But he
body's
suddenly remembered that the
uncontrollable
higher one's
reaction at that
cultivation
time.
base was.
Song Shu
The more
was
sensitive one would
embarrassed.
be to impending
However,
danger to a
after
certain
experiencing
extent.
this was the
much,
so-called
the
sudden
embarrassment
inspiration.
only lasted for a moment.
If it was a normal
He
person,
quickly smiled.
they would usually have
Doesn't
the
that
same
prove
reaction to their
Bijuan's
closest
charm
relatives.
even more?
When
After
he
all,
saw Zhao
words can be
Min's
faked,
solemn expression,
but body reactions
Song
can't.
Shu also
Even a
became
gentleman
little
like
worried.
me almost
If something
couldn't
really
control
happens,
myself.
won't you
It
be
shows how
sending
attractive
yourself
you
into a
are.
tiger's den?
She had never
by going
heard
back
such
so
blatant
rashly,
praise before,
but Shun
Min
Bijuan
finally put on a
didn't
smile.
feel disgusted.
Don't worry.
Instead,
The Riyang
she
household
felt
has
has
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
resources.
After
But today,
even
you
if something
mercilessly
happens,
refused me.
we should have
Shun
the ability
Bijuan's mood
to
had
resolve it.
improved.
Besides,
And she couldn't help
we're in our
but
own
snort.
territory now.
Her voice was
We'll
filled
definitely
with
have a
indignation.
way.
Song
Shu
Shu
thought about it.
Do you really want to be
bullied
bullied by me
The
that
Riyang
much?
father and son
If that's
had
the
a lot of
case,
troops,
then I'll do as
and they
you
also
wish.
had a lot of elites under them.
Shin Bijuan
Zhao Min
let
had
out a
once
startled
toyed
cry
with most of the
and
martial
hastily
arts
shrank
world in the
back.
Central Plains
Just
in
now,
the palm of her hand.
she had given
It would be
herself
fine
to
if
him
it did
with a
not
sense
harm
of
others.
sacrifice.
So there was no way
But
they
after
would be
such a
harmed by
long
others.
time,
That
you've come
indescribable
back this
courage
time
had
because of the
long
great
since
Khan's return to the
disappeared.
east.
Now,
right?
She was even
Zhao
more
Min
embarrassed
asked,
than usual.
P.S.
I feel like I'm not ready yet, and I'm about to officially
Song
face the pressure
Shu
from
was
Mongolia.
just trying to scare her.
Song
She
Shu
naturally wouldn't
said
do
with a wry
anything.
smile. He stood up and prepared
There's
to
no
leave.
such thing
Rest
as a
well.
sure thing.
If you
in
need
this
anything,
world.
call me.
If you seek
I'll be next
too
door.
much stability,
Unexpectedly,
it'll be easy
Shun
for you to
Bijuan
lose
thought
the chance
that
to
her
win.
refusal
Zhao
had
Min
hurt him.
smiled.
She
I think
quickly
that your
said,
idea
actually,
of choosing a husband
you don't
for the
have
Western
to
Xia
leave.
dynasty
Oh,
this time.
Song
is pretty good.
Shu,
That
turned
Princess
around
Yinchuan of
and
yours
looked at her
is also
with a playful
quite a
expression.
character.
I can't
Bijuan's
believe that
face
she's willing
turned
to
red.
take the
She
initiative
quickly
to
added,
stand out.
"You can stay and rest.
How did you
but
know
you're
that
not
we-
allowed to do anything
Song
else?"
Shu
Song
looked
Shu
embarrassed.
laughed.
His
Zhao
laughter
Min
caused
snorted.
Shin Bijuan
Do you think I don't know your
to
style
feel
of doing
extremely
things?
uneasy.
There's been a lot of
She
trouble
originally
in Western
thought
Xia
that he would
recently.
refuse again.
If I pay a little
But she
attention,
only heard him say,
I'll know that you're the one
okay.
behind.
This
P.
time, it was Shun Bijuan's turn to be dumbfounded.
Chapter
She had indeed
1899.
prepared herself,
Song Qing
but
Shu
now she
was a
didn't
little
know how to
dissatisfied.
It's
Song
because you
Qing
know my
Shu
secret
directly
and you're
jumped
so
onto the bed
smart
and
that you can
smiled.
guess the truth behind
Do you want
it.
to sleep now?
If it were someone
or chat
else
a little longer,
who would know that I'm
the
the
girl
one
had
in
already
charge
done
of the
so
Western Xia,
much,
inviting
Zhao
him
Min nodded.
over and over
That's
again.
true.
If he
If it
still
weren't for Liao,
refused,
I wouldn't
he was
have thought
worried
about
that he
it
would
when I
anger
saw the
Shin
Western
Bijuan.
Xia
If a
in
woman's
such a
pride
mess.
was hurt too badly,
Fortunately,
it was
no one in
very
the world
easy
is
for
as
her
smart
to go to
as my main
extremes,
men
and
Song
Song
Qing Shu
Shu
smiled.
Although
held her in
Song
his
Qing
arms.
Shu
When you gonna
temporarily
leave?
didn't want to
Zhao
have
Min turned
any more
around
love
and
affairs.
put her hand
He
on
also
his
didn't
neck.
want to have another
Her
woman
eyes
who
were
hated him.
sparkling.
He didn't want to
I'm
repeat
almost
the
done
mistakes of
and
his
ready
Xu
to
and
leave.
Huan and
But
Lin
since you're
Xian.
back,
I can leave
more
a little
importantly,
later. As
he
soon
didn't
as
want
she
to finish
finished speaking,
pure
and
she stood on
Shin
tiptoe
Bijuan
and
turned
kissed his
evil
lips.
because of him. Song Qing
Let's
Shu
chat.
was startled.
Shin
But he
Bijuan
soon
soon
relaxed.
with a red face.
He put his
How
hands
could she
around
say
her
that she was
slender
going to
waist,
sleep?
and
Her answer
pulled
was
her into his
within
arms.
Song
He
Qing
enjoyed her
Shu's
sweet and hot
expectations.
kiss to his heart's
Sensing her
content.
nervousness
After a long time,
he took the initiative
Zhao Min
to
fixed
find
the
a
buttons on her
topic
dress
to
with a
ease the
ruddy
tension.
face.
Bijuan,
While buttoning them,
tell me about
she
your
asked in a
childhood.
sweet voice.
My childhood
Is my hair
Shin
messy?
Bijuan was a little
Her bright
surprised.
red skin
During this period
coupled
of
with the
time,
faint
you've been
water
asking me
stains
about
in
the
her
things
starry
that happen
eyes,
around me.
showed
But
how
I don't know
happy
what you've
she had
experienced
just
in the
been.
past.
Song
Isn't
Qing
that a little
Shu
too
lay on the
unfair?
bed and
Song
admired
Qing
her
Shu
graceful
purposely said,
and moving
Shin
figure.
Bijuan pursed
Your
her
hair
lips and
is
smiled.
beautiful no matter what.
It's not that I don't want
It
to
looks
talk about
lazy
it.
and
It's
luxurious.
just that compared
like
to the
this.
storms that Big
So it's
Brother
messy.
Song has experienced,
Zhao Min,
my
hurriedly
childhood
found a
was too
bronze
ordinary.
mirror.
Song
looked at
Qing
herself.
Shu shook his head.
It's all your
How
fault.
can the growth of the
You just
number
had to grab
one
my hair
beauty
like
of
that.
Jiang and
Song
be
Qing Shu
ordinary?
chuckled. I think you look good this way. Glib. Zhao Min looked back at him coquettishly
Chapter
and began to
19:10.
fix her messy hair
Song Qing Shu said with a smile.
in front of the mirror.
That's only
With
because
Song
you've
Qing
always been
Shu's
raised in
current
your
level
boudoir.
of skill.
So you're
Even
not
if it was
famous.
only for a short
If you were a
moment,
person of
he could
Jiang
clearly see
or
the
if you often
flirtatious
show your
and
face in public,
flirtatious look in her
I'm
eyes.
afraid the world would
That
have already
slight
praised
anger,
you to the heavens.
shyness.
He,
At
of
the
course
same
not.
time,
Shin
overflowing
Bijuan's
with
face
charm
reddened
was truly
slightly.
unique. But it was clear
Why
that
are you
she
up
was
so
in a good
early?
mood.
Sleep
It's
was not
me
good
good for a girl to show her face in public. Admired her figure from behind. That's why it's so convenient. He saw that she was still like a young girl. I have the number one beauty of Jiang Man. Her small buttocks were silently getting rich, and her legs were slender. Song Qingshu's red dress was tightly wrapped around her exquisite and delicate Shen Bijuan's expression. Her breasts were slightly and towering, and there are many beauties in Jiangnan. It fully displayed the advantages of Zhao, the young miss of the Shui family. Song Qingshu, the young miss of the Shi sigh with emotion. The young miss of the Li This princess, Xiao Min, was truly the best of the best. In another time, especially at a time like this, you were the number one beauty of both a young girl. How could you not be worthy of that title? She was truly Song Qingshu sighed emotionally. When he had first arrived in this world, Bijuan blinked. He had felt that she really didn't understand what he meant by now that he thought about it. Space. It was truly a great opportunity. But the other changed the topic. How could he have had the chance to have
tell me a few things
such
about
a
your
dreamy
childhood?
woman? No, I still
When I was
have
a
a
child,
child. My
Zhao Min
grandmother
hurriedly
tidied up
so
her
I'm
hair
closest to
and
her.
got up to take her luggage.
However,
she was
Song
also
Ching
very
Shu
strict
was
with me.
shocked
While I was
and
very
subconsciously
young,
sat
she
up
taught me how to read
so fast,
write, play the zither,
and
Zhao Min walked
if
to
I
the
didn't
side
do
of
the
bed
slightest
and
bit well,
smiled like a
she would
flower.
punish me.
That's right.
When
I was
Shun
gonna leave
Bijun
anyway.
spoke of the past,
I stayed a bit longer.
her eyes
just
were
for you.
filled with a strange
Seeing the
light.
others disappointed
For most
expression,
people,
Zhao
childhood
Min's
memories were
smiled
so
like a fox.
beautiful.
Originally,
remembering.
you left me here to do things for
Bijun
you,
slowly
but you
recounted
ran off to
what had
flirt with other
happened
women.
since she was a
I
child.
still have some
As she
hidden
spoke,
bitterness in my
her
heart.
emotions
But
gradually
since you made me
calmed
so
down.
happy,
The
this
haze that
time,
had accumulated
I won't
in her
argue
heart
with you.
for a long
If fate
time
wills it,
was
we'll
swept
meet
away.
again.
After
Song
saying
Ching
this,
Shu became
she
a
kissed him on the
loyal
lips
listener,
and
at the
left
same
with a
time,
smile.
the beautiful
Leaving
woman
Song
in
Ching
front of
Shu
him
sitting
became
alone
more
on the
and more
bed in the
vivid.
wind.
She was
What is
no
this?
longer the number one
Waving
beauty
your
in the novel,
sleeves, but a
and not
real
taking away a
person.
single cloud.
He, the two of
Song
them
Ching
didn't know
Shu
when they fell
continuously
asleep,
comforted himself.
but in the middle of the night,
However,
Shun Bijun
the more
suddenly
he
woke
comforted
up
himself,
because she felt that
the
something
more he
was
felt
wrong
like a
with her
little
body.
girl who was
She looked down in a
abandoned after being
daze
played with,
and found that a
Why did it
large
feel
hand had
so
unknowingly
unpleasant
reached
to be
into her
freeloaded?
clothes.
After a long
She
time,
was
he
scared out of
smiled.
her wits.
Only
and
Zhao Min could
subconsciously
do
wanted to
such
shout
a
for
carefree
Song
thing.
Ching Shu
After she
door
left,
to come.
Song
and
Ching
save her.
Shu couldn't sleep
However,
anymore.
she
He
suddenly
got up
remembered
and put on
that
his
the two of
clothes.
them were sleeping
Originally,
in the same bed.
he planned
and
to find
chatting.
Su
She
Quan to
gently
ask
turned
about
her
the
head
current
and
situation
found
and
that it was
meow.
indeed him.
However,
He, as a result,
when he thought about
she
how
had
he
no
had just
choice
fought
but to
with another
swallow
woman
back the
and was
scream that
surrounded
reached
by
her throat.
Zhao Min's
Her
fragrance.
pretty face
Wouldn't he
flushed
cause trouble
red
for her?
and
if
she
he went
wondered
over?
if she should
He
reject
called the
him
palace maid
if
to
he wanted
prepare
to take
hot
a step
water
further.
and planned to
In the
take a
beginning,
bath.
she did
At
have
this
the
time,
courage, but
he
now
found
that
an
she had calmed
envelope
down,
left by
she also
Zhao
regretted
Min on
being
the table.
too impulsive.
The envelope wrote all the things that happened in
She was
Liao
clearly worried
during
that
this
he
period
had
of time.
many female
the officials she
confidants.
met, the
But why did
appointments
she
she
still
made,
act like
which
a moth
officials could be
flying
trusted
into
in
a
the
flame?
future,
Her
and which
thoughts quickly
officials
became
couldn't
a
be
mess.
trusted.
Not
Everything
because
was
her
listed
heart
clearly.
was in a mess.
He couldn't help
but because
but
of
sigh
the other
inwardly.
party's hands.
Zhao Min was
Song
really
Ching
a
Shu
female
was
Zhu.
very experienced.
Previously, how could a
She was
virgin
worried
girl
that she would
like
cause
her
trouble
endure
for
a
him after
few
leaving.
casual
So she
movements?
specially prepared
Soon,
everything
her skin
in
turned
advance.
bright red
After
and
reading
her
the letter
whole
left
body
by
softened.
Zhao, a
Her
few
bright
times,
and clear eyes were
memorizing
covered
the
with a
contents.
layer of blurred
Song
mist.
Ching Shu
Pete,
was
brother,
almost done
Brother
bathing.
Song, after
Don't be like
changing
this.
into a new set
Shin
of clothes,
Bijun felt her
he went to
voice
Su
tremble.
Quan's bedroom.
She
to
finally
look for
mustered
her.
up the courage.
He saw her
to gently
lazily
push the
lying on the
man
couch
behind
for a
her.
nap.
He who
Even
would have
through the
thought
curtain,
that the other
he
party
could see her
was completely
undulating
indifferent.
figure.
She
His
was
hands
completely
continued
different
to
from
do
Zhao Min,
evil things
who still
under her
retained some of
clothes,
the innocence
and they were
of a
even
young girl.
gradually
Her
moving
body
down.
was full of the
He
charm
and Bijou
of a
and
mature
tightly
young
bit her
woman.
lips.
The curve of
She
her
didn't know why
buttocks
she
was
suddenly felt
exaggerated
wrong.
and connected
However,
to her waist.
when she
In
thought
front of
about
him,
how she had
it
taken
was a
the initiative
beautiful
last
picture
night,
of a little beauty.
she couldn't blame him.
Didn't I
It was
say
just that
not
she
to
couldn't
disturb
help
me?
feeling a
She
bit
seemed to have heard the
disappointed.
noise.
P
But Su
originally,
Quan thought
she was
it
waiting
a
for the
palace
other to
maid
take
or
another
something.
step.
But
She
after
didn't
a
open her
while,
eyes.
the other
and
seemed to
muttered with
only
some
be satisfied with
dissatisfaction.
the desire of his
It's not
hands
dark
and feet.
yet.
And you're
Shin
already
Bijou
sleeping?
finally
Song Ching
couldn't
Shu
hide her
smiled
curiosity
and walked over
and turned around to look at
Su
the
Quan
man.
suddenly woke
She
up.
found that his
When she
eyes
saw
were
his
closed
appearance,
and his
she couldn't
breathing
help
was
but be
steady.
pleasantly
It was
surprised.
clear that he was sleeping
back.
soundly.
I'm back.
He understanding
Song
that he was
Ching Shu
subconsciously
walked to the
doing
side of
this
the
in his
couch
sleep and sat
Shun
down.
Bijun blushed and spat.
Looking at the beautiful
Brother
woman in
Song
front of
is
him,
really.
he sighed.
Normally,
you
say
he
that
didn't
you
know
were
how
Lu
much virtue
Xiaohui,
he had accumulated
but in the
in
end,
his previous
you were
life
so
to be
dishonest
able to have
when you
so
were
many
asleep.
beautiful
He presumably,
confidants
in this
he usually
life.
hugged
You didn't
those
inform me
female
in
confidants
advance
that
that
you're
sleep
back
like this.
You made me look
right?
so embarrassed
thought
in front
flashed
of you.
through her mind.
Su Quan
and
pouted
Shun
coquettishly.
Bijun became
At the
even
same
more
time,
embarrassed.
she began to
Then,
tidy up her clothes.
she was
and hair
immersed
that
in
were a
this
little
strange
messy when she just
feeling,
slept, and
Seeing
unknowingly
this,
fell asleep.
Song
again.
Ching Shu couldn't
the
help
next
but
day,
laugh when
her clothes
Song
might be a
Ching
little
Shu
wrinkled,
woke up.
but how could
He
it have
found that
anything
Shun
to do with
Bijun
being
had already
embarrassed?
gotten up.
The nature
and
of
was
women
washing
to
up in
love
front of the
beauty
mirror.
was was indeed
couldn't help
the
but
same,
smile,
no matter which
Bejuan.
era it was.
You were up so
Suddenly, he noticed that
he
there
was
was
a person who had
transmigrated
transmigrated
from the future
between her brows.
So sleeping with a
He
female
couldn't help but
friend
ask,
wasn't a strange thing.
"You seem to be falling
Thus,
asleep
his
just
expression
now.
was relaxed.
You seem very tired,
and nothing strange
Suquan
could be
faintly
seen.
sighed.
P, however,
Of course I'm tired.
This made things
Although
difficult
Yao
for
is no
Shin
longer
Biju.
what it used to be.
How could she
It's
pretend
still a
that
country.
nothing had happened?
I don't know how many
She couldn't
things
help
I have
but
to deal with
mutter.
in a day.
It's not that
The
I
key
woke up
is that
early.
at this stage,
It's that I can't sleep
delegate
because of being
power to the
pinched.
officials under me.
Song Qin
I have to
Shu
do everything
didn't know
by
about his
myself.
bad habit of sleeping.
Previously,
So
I
he
had
didn't
the help of the
understand what she
princess's
meant.
younger sister.
Shin Biju
but
was
she has to
clearly
go
embarrassed to say
in the
it.
future.
So when the two
I'll be
arrived
the only
at
one
Chengdu,
left.
he still
Just
didn't
thinking
know
about
what
it
happened
gives
that
me a
night.
headache.
P after
Song
arriving at
Qingshu's heart
Chengdu
was full
Song
of guilt.
Qingshu wasn't
It's really
in a
hard
hurry
on you.
to see Shin
Suquan
Xiaowang.
smiled
He didn't even
charmingly.
go see
Although it's a little
Wan
hard,
Shenzhu.
I could be considered
Instead,
to be enjoying
he
it.
lingered in the
In the
tea
past,
houses and
a
taverns
mere
to
divine
understand
dragon
the
cult
changes
couldn't
in
display
Sichuan.
my strengths at all.
Now that I'm governing a country,
After the chaos
I feel very
caused by Wu
accomplished every
Shimurong
day.
Fu.
The officialdom in Sichuan was purged. Chapter
and the current
1900
Sichuan
don't
was
joke
much
around.
more stable.
The strong
The
desire
public's
to
evaluation
survive
of
that he had
Shun
developed in his
Xiaolong
previous
was quite
life
good.
made
The
Song
common
Qing-shu
people couldn't
very
bear the
clear-headed
torment,
to avoid
and
this
they would
topic.
speak well of
I'm telling the
anyone who
truth.
could let them live
Su
and
Quan
work
twisted
in
her body
peace and
and
contentment.
burrowed into his
He, after
arms.
wandering in
By the
Sichuan
way,
for 2 days,
your princess has left.
Song Qing-shu
Aren't you going to send her
finally
off?
found Lin Pingji.
Song
Lin
Qing-shu
Pingji
was very
She has
surprised
already
by
left.
his arrival. So you just
He
came from her
hastily
place.
dismissed his attendants
Su Quan was
and
clever
welcomed him
and
into the
immediately
study.
understood
When he noticed
the hidden
hidden
meaning
Bijun
in
beside
his
him.
words.
He was
She
secretly
suddenly
shocked
wrinkled
by
her
beauty
nose.
and
He thought
sniffed
that
him.
Big Brother Song
Hey,
really lived
there's no
a
fragrance on
free
Zhao
and
Min's
easy
body.
life with
Did you just
all
take a
kinds
bath?
of beautiful women
Song
around him.
Qing-shu
He had
was
never been
sweating
fond of women,
profusely.
so
Do
he
you have
didn't
a
have the
dog's nose?
slightest bit
Each of his
jealousy.
women was more
On the
shrewd
contrary
than the other.
He admired her very
Sooner
much.
or later,
Song
he would be
Qing-shu
swallowed up
noticed
by
a
them
faint
without
scar
any
on his
residue
face
left.
and couldn't
I
help
have
but
a
feel a
fox's
bit
nose.
apologetic.
Su Quan
Last time,
snorted proudly.
I asked you to go to Xixia,
But soon her
to set up a
expression
trap,
became a
but
little
I made you
lonely.
suffer a lot.
She sighed faintly.
I'm really sorry.
The first thing you
Lin
did when you came
Pingji
back was to
replied,
find Zhao
Big Brother
Min
Song
instead of
is
me.
too serious.
This proves that
I
she's
volunteered
still
to do
more
this.
important in your heart.
Moreover, Song
with this
Qing-shu's
resume,
smile froze.
my promotion
He
in
didn't
the
know how to
officialdom
comfort
will be
her.
unimpeded.
Fortunately, now that I'm sitting
Su Quan
in this
quickly
position,
regained her
the
smile.
spirits of my parents
But at
in
least you
heaven
took a bath,
should be smiling,
changed into a
in the
new set of
underworld.
clothes,
And all this is
and
thanks to
came
Big
to
Brother
find
Song.
me with a new face.
He originally wanted
You're
to mention
kind,
the
so I
spirits of
forgive
the
you.
Lin
I've
family's
made you feel
ancestors
wrong.
in heaven.
Song
and so
Qing-shu
on.
said
But then he thought of the
apologetically.
Bishias swordplay.
There's nothing to
and
feel
how he had
wronged
any
about.
relationship with
I'd
those
rather be the
ancestors.
concubine
So
of
he
a
only
hero
mentioned his
than a
parents.
wife of a
Song
mediocre man.
Qing-shu looked at his
I chose
face
the man
and couldn't
myself,
help
but nod.
So I have to
You don't
bear
say.
the corresponding consequences.
You used to look a bit feminine.
Su Quan
but now that
chuckled.
you have a scar,
Besides,
your
you're
temperament
a
is
little
more
unfaithful.
masculine, and
Lin
spend less time with
Pingji
me.
usually
There's nothing
hated
wrong
it
with
when
that.
people said
Song
that he looked like a
Qing-shu
woman. The
smiled
only
bitterly.
exception was Song
Why did this kind of
Qing-shu.
compliment sound
Not only
so
did Song
awkward?
Qing-shu
All right,
not
all
get
right.
angry,
Don't
but he
feel
also
guilty.
smiled in agreement.
It's not easy for you
I
to
think
come
so
back.
too.
Have a good talk with me.
I look much more
Su Quan
pleasing
could
to
see
the
his
eye when I
awkwardness.
look in the mirror.
She was a smart
Song
woman
Qing-shu
and knew when to
knew
stop.
that although
Then,
Lin Pingji
Song
looked like a
Qing-shu
woman,
hugged her like
his
this
heart was
and listened
more
to her talk
manly
about
than the
what
average
happened to
man.
Liao during
So it
this
was
time.
normal for him
At
to
the
think
same
like
time,
this.
he told her
Oh,
everything
by the
that
way,
had happened to him.
Did you
during
find
this
out
time.
Miss Yu's whereabouts
Time passed
after she
very
was taken
quickly
away?
in the warmth
P.
between lovers.
A few hours had passed, but the two of them did not feel tired
Chapter
at all.
19.
After dinner, Lin
Su
Pingji
Quan suddenly
shook
said,
his head
"When you
and
are
said
free,
faintly,
go
Ling Hu
and
Chong
seek
went to save
consort
her.
Hui.
There shouldn't
see
be
her
any
crying
big problems.
every day,
Song
as if she has
Qing-shu
lost
had
her
a
spirit.
strange expression
If this
on
goes
his
on,
face.
I'm
Aren't you
afraid
afraid
she won't be able to
that
hold
Ling
on
Hu
for long.
Chong will be the first
Imperial
to see her?
concubine Hui?
Lin Pingji
Song
replied.
Qing-shu was
If
stunned
Ling Shan
and
loves
couldn't
me,
react for a moment.
she naturally
Su
won't
Quan
fall in
explained.
love with someone else.
It is the Southern
If
Dynasty
she really does
crown
fall
princess,
in love with someone
the
else,
Shun family's
it
young
proves
lady
that
who
she
was
isn't
kidnapped
worthy
by
of
Yellow
my love.
Isin.
What's
Should
there to
be
be
regretful
regretful
about?
about? Song Qing-shu
finally
remembered.
laughed.
At
He
that
thought it
time,
through.
and the
Yellow
two
Isin
chatted
had
for a
disguised
while.
Shinbiju
Lin
as
Pingji
Xiao
explained to him
Shama's
the
sister
changes in the
and sent her
Sichuan
to the palace.
officialdom.
Then,
Then become his people,
she was given the
who
title of
followed
consort
Shin
Hui.
Xiaolong.
In the end,
who was controlled
when
by
Yellow
the Yang
Isin's
family,
rebellion broke
and so
out,
on.
she was
the madam of
also
the Yang
implicated.
family is pregnant with Yang
In order to protect
Jiyuan's
her,
posthumous
she was
child.
banished to the
Her
cold
belly
palace.
is getting bigger.
This
every
Shun
day.
family's young
In
lady
addition,
is
she
truly
is very
an
outstanding
capable
beauty.
So the Yang
even
family
though she
from
has a
top to
sad
bottom
face
respects
every
her.
day,
Lin
some of the
Pingji
little eunuchs in
paused
the palace
and then
are
continued.
infatuated with her.
But it's not that there
Every
isn't any
concubine
rumor that
that
she
was
is not
banished to the
pregnant
cold
with
palace
Yang
was
Jiyuan's
lonely
child
in front
in
of their
fact,
door.
I also
Even the
have some
palace
doubts,
maids didn't
but I
like
can't
them.
think of
But when
anyone
it came
in
to her,
Sichuan who has
it
the
was as
ability
crowded
to win
as a
Madame
marketplace.
Ruan's favor.
It is a strange
Noticing
sight
his
in the cold
serious and
palace.
doubtful look,
Su Quan
Song
couldn't help
Qing-shu
but sigh.
almost choked
Okay,
on his
I will
tea.
go and see.
He thought that Lin
Song
Pingji was
Qing-shu
still a
didn't dare to
hothead.
lay.
Then
After
Song
all,
Qing-shu
the person in charge of
declined Lin
Sichuan
Pingji's
was
invitation
Shun
to stay
Xiaolong
and left the mansion
Shun
with Shun
Bijun's
Bijun.
elder brother.
He was going to
When
the
he
Yang
heard that the
mansion.
Shun family
After
had
all,
been destroyed,
he had been
his heart
separated
had
from
died.
Madame Ruan
Song
for a few
Qing-shu
months.
had told
He
him
wanted to
about
visit
Shun
the
Bijun,
mother and son,
which gave him hope.
That Lord Lin
if something
is
happened
really
to
a
Shun
male
Biju
chauvinist.
Although they
Shin
wouldn't
Biju
become
didn't
enemies,
speak during
it
the
would
whole
definitely
process
affect
in
the
mansion.
relationship
After
between
coming
the two
out,
sides.
she couldn't help
Although
but
it was called the
comment.
Cold Palace,
Why do you say so?
there was no palace
Song
in the
Qing-shu
Imperial
asked
Palace
curiously.
specifically
For
called the
example,
Cold Palace.
his attitude
Instead,
towards
it was some of the
Miss
most remote rooms.
Miss Yu is in
the
danger,
deposed concubines
but he not
were
only doesn't
often
save her,
sent to those
but
places.
also says such
Over time,
things.
that
Does Miss
place
Yu owe
became
him?
the Cold Palace.
Shin Biju
in everyone's
obviously
hearts.
didn't agree with his
because
theory.
the inner palace
Song
didn't
Qing-shu
allow
replied.
imperial guards
In
and
fact,
ministers
it has to
enter.
do with
And because the
Pingji's
Cold Palace
situation.
was remote,
He has a blood
there weren't
feud,
many people there.
and the head of Mount
Even
Hua,
if they occasionally
Yu
met
Buqiu
people
on the
and
way,
didn't accept
with
him as a
Song Qing-shu's
disciple with
martial
good
intentions.
he could avoid
He knows
them
all
in
of
advance.
this.
So
Thus,
he is very
he didn't
suspicious
disguise
of
himself
Yu Lingshan
and
and
feelings
walked
towards
directly
him.
there. As a result,
When he arrived,
he is a
near
bit extreme
Shin Bijuin's
when it
palace.
comes to her.
He saw a few
Then he roughly
little eunuchs
explained
carrying
Lin
lunchboxes
Pingji's
out.
experience. As they walked,
Shin Biju
they whispered to
finally
each
understood.
other. Consort
So that's how it
Hui
is
really
no
pitiful.
wonder.
I have
Thinking
never
of
seen
how the
such
other
a
party's
beautiful
family
woman
had
have
been
been destroyed, and
Her
how
Majesty
she had
the
suffered.
Empress is
She
not
couldn't help
inferior
but
to her.
feel sympathetic.
Her Majesty the
When can I
Empress
see my
is
brother?
high above.
After
I don't
this,
dare to think about
Ping
it.
Zhi's words.
Check.
Even
When
if
can I see my
Consort
brother
Hui
again?
was banished to
Song
the cold
Qing
palace.
Shu answered,
She is still a
We'll make a
concubine.
trip to the Yang Mansion
Isn't she also
first,
high above?
then invite
Someone with our
Xiaolong
status
over.
can think
Hearing
about
him
it.
mention going to the
So what if
Yang
we
Manor,
think about it?
Shen
We've already
Bijuan's
been
expression
cut down
became
below.
strange.
At this
Just
point,
now, young
the two
Master
eunuchs
Lin
fell
mentioned that
silent.
Madame Yang,
After a long
is
time,
pregnant.
one of them
Everyone
said,
is guessing
when we
who the
grow
child in her
old
stomach
and leave the
is.
palace,
It can't be.
we must bring
It's
our
big brother
treasures
songs,
with us.
right?
We will rest in peace with our bodies intact.
Shen Bijuan's
in our next
expression
life,
darkened.
we will not
She
be
already
people
knew
without
that he had a
roots.
lot of women around
After the
him.
two left,
So why did she
Song
still
Qing
feel
Shu
so
flashed out from
uncomfortable?
behind the fake
The two
mountain.
soon arrived
Looking
at
at
the
their
Yang
backs,
Mansion.
he sighed
After notifying
inwardly.
him,
These
Yuan
eunuchs were
Qing
all
Shu
pitiful
rushed
people,
out,
scaring
However,
Song Qing
in this
Shu
era,
so much
there was no
that he
way
rushed
to
over
abolish
support
the
her.
system of
Madam
eunuchs.
is pregnant.
They could
Be
only
careful.
order the eunuchs
The two
of
of
the
them
greeting
soon
office
arrived
to
at
be
the Yang
completely
Manor.
voluntary.
After informing
and
them,
ensure that they would
Yuan
have proper
Qing Shu
arrangements for the
rushed
rest
out
of their
anxiously,
lives. After
scaring
they left the
Song
palace.
Qing Shu
inside
so
the cold
much
palace,
that he hurried.
the
over to
rooms were
support her.
extremely dilapidated.
Madam is pregnant.
The cloth
Be
curtains
careful
were
of the
extremely
miscarriage.
dim.
Yuan Qingzhu realized
It was
that she
unknown
too
where they had been
conspicuous.
discarded.
Her
But
face,
it was a stark
which was
contrast
slightly
to the
plump
splendor
due to her
of
pregnancy,
other places
was
in
dyed
the Imperial
red.
Palace.
Mr.
A
Song,
thin
please
and
come
beautiful
in.
figure
Song
sat
Qing
by the
Shu
window,
nodded his head
quietly
and
staring at
beckoned
the Shen
Shen
Biju
Biju
inside
with
in a
him.
daze.
Only then did
the young
Madame
palace made
Yuan
decide
notice the
urged
outrageously
young
beautiful woman
eat something.
beside him. The food
She
of
was
the other
startled
people in the
and
cold
couldn't help
palace
but ask,
is either cold
"How should
or
I
rotten."
address this
It's
younger
only
sister?
thanks to those little
Hello,
eunuchs that they
Sister
bring you
Wan.
hot food.
My surname
every
is
time.
Shun.
Don't waste
Shen
their good
Bijuan was
intentions.
also amazed by
Song
the other's
Qing
beauty.
Shu stilled.
Although she was
When he
dressed
left,
like a married
hadn't he
woman,
told Su
her
Quan
beauty was
and
not
Zhao Min to take
inferior
good care
to
of
any
her?
young girl.
How did she end up
Especially the
relying on
unique
eunuchs?
charm of a mature
In reality,
woman,
which
which
was a
made many
misunderstanding.
young girls envious.
Su Quan and
Sister
Zhao
Shen's
Min had people
mouth
take
is
good
so
care of Shen
sweet.
Bijuan.
Yuan Qingzhu
Everything was
smiled
according
and
to
said
the
a few
previous
words to her.
standards.
Then
In
she
the couldn't
began.
help poking
The people
Song
below
Qing Shu
did as they
beside
were
her
told.
and whispered.
But later,
Where did you hook up
seeing
with
that
the
this
emperor
girl,
had no
she's so
intention of
beautiful.
restoring consort
I didn't hook
Hui's
up.
status.
She's the
The
young
people
lady
below
of the Shun family
gradually
became
became
negligent.
Shun
The
Xiaolong's
imperial
cousin.
palace had
I
always
saved her
been
by
this gold.
chance. Who
Song
knew how many
Qing Shu
concubines
replied,
in the cold
"That's
palace
such a
hoped to
coincidence."
make comeback? It seems
But
that my
the emperor would
relationship with
occasionally
Shun
add
Xiaolong
new people
will be
to his side.
guaranteed in the
Very
future.
quickly,
Madame
these
Yuan
women
couldn't
were
help
completely
but sigh.
forgotten.
Those
Everyone
who
was
flirt with
used
other
to it.
women will either
I don't
get
have
the
an
title
appetite.
of a pervert
A gentle
or be
female
regarded as a
voice
slut.
rang out.
But you
Also,
who pick up a girl,
don't let those
and
little
promote your
eunuchs
career the
give
same
me
time.
things.
It's really
Their
unheard
salary
of.
is not much.
Song Qing Shu
and
smiled.
some of the things are
embarrassedly.
clearly
Maybe I'm
embezzled
lucky
from someplace.
Madame Ruan sighed.
If someone finds out,
You're really
it
lucky.
will bring about
Find
a fatal
someone to
disaster.
inform Shindarin
In the past,
that an old
Shen
friend
Bijuan's
has come to
eyes
visit.
were always
Also,
clear.
prepare
and
a room
gentle,
for Miss
like the
Shun
flowing
and
water
take her to settle
in the
down
spring
first.
wind.
Her
Madame
hair
Yuan
was
had a
bright
lot of things
and
to say
soft,
to Song Qing
and her
Shu.
waist was as
It was
soft
inconvenient
as
to
a
say it
willow
in front of
branch
another
in the
woman.
spring wind.
So,
but now
she
she
just
had
sent her
changed.
away.
She had
Moreover,
become quieter,
she
more
and Song
melancholic,
Qing Shu were in
and
the
more
same
haggard.
camp.
She was
However,
keenly aware
these
that she
changes did
couldn't
not
settle
harm
her
Shen
beauty.
Bijuan.
On the
by
contrary,
Shen Xiaolong's
she
side.
appeared
It
even
was
more
inconvenient
lovely
for
and
Song Qing
beautiful.
Shu to come
It was a
forward
beauty
with
that
these
could
things,
intoxicate
so she could
one's
only
heart.
say it.
But how
Shen
can you not
Bijuan
eat?
originally
Yang
didn't want
Yang
to separate
is becoming
from Song
thinner
Qing
and
Shu
thinner
because she
if
didn't
this
feel
continues,
safe.
Your
But
body
seeing that
won't
Song
be able
Qing
to support
Shu
it.
didn't
The
have
young
any
palace
objections,
maid said
she could
anxiously.
only faintly
Shen
sigh
Bijuan
and
looked at
follow
the
the
sky
servant girl to
outside
the room
and
to settle
faintly
down.
said, "Your
So
ability
what if I
to
could
hook up
support
with
it?
women
In the
is
end,
really admirable.
I am still
Just
imprisoned
look at how
in
that
this world,
mission looks
like a
back
canary in a
every
cage.
3 steps. She must have already fallen in love with you." After Shen
Chapter
Bijuan's back
1901.
disappeared,
Who is Miss
Madame
Shen waiting
Yuan
for?
couldn't help
At this
but
time,
sigh. A warm voice came from behind her. Shen Bijuan's body
Song
trembled.
Qing Shu
She turned to
shook
look at the
his head
door in
She was
disbelief.
originally a
When
flower
she saw Song
raised in a
Qing Shu's
greenhouse.
appearance, she
Suddenly,
almost fainted.
her family
Of course,
changed drastically.
This wasn't because
The
she had
person she
fallen in
thought
love with
was
him
her savior
or because
wanted to
her
kill her.
feelings for him were
Naturally,
deep.
it was
She
just
lacked
that
a normal sense of little girl. It's normal for her to have some attachment to me. But she had been kidnapped and taken to a foreign country. Then I noticed that the way she looked at you wasn't as the Southern Song Dynasty imperial family that she had been waiting. Why is Madame not only did not save Madame also look at me like that, but instead sent people Song to kill her to didn't believe that Shin Biju she had long since lost him all hope so easily. At this time, she just didn't have a choice. Song Shu's appearance had given her a glimmer of hope. He appeared at the right time. It was her only hope. So she had a good impression. Also why she had been able to calmly rose to the level of love. It was after a few months, there had been no news from him at all. Seeing that the flames had been abandoned by the entire world, Madame couldn't help but spit. Sometimes, Song Shu would even wonder if he had completely forgotten gently stroked her bulging belly. Gradually, it won't be long she lost her appetite, and her body became thinner. Stroking her belly, she spent all day staring at the courtyard in a daze. Showed the more she looked, sense of kindness. The more she felt. Let's call him Sishu. That kind of sorrow had accumulated to the extreme. Aren't you clearly telling others the voice she had been waiting for? Won't this affect you? How could she not be excited? Madame Juan rolled her eyes. Who are you to dare trespass into the inner palace? I can't afford to lose my face. The young palace maid at the side saw that this person was clearly not a eunuch in disguise. Song Qing couldn't help, nor was he a guard of the imperial physicians. Long time no see. In fact, Madame has become even a guard of the imperial eunuch was not Madame Ruan's face. She couldn't help but stand in front of What does young master want to do? This is a young family. You can behave yourself. Shin Bijuan finally smiled. A trace of a smile on her face. Are you going to play a role-playing game? Nyang, the young Thinking back to the last time they were here, there was something she was still wearing a snow-white morning She thought that even if she had been given the cold shoulder by the emperor, feeling the change in a man's body, it wasn't impossible for her to recover. Not here. But if she were to be everyone in the Yang family, not only would there be no hope for her to recover, it would also bring about a fatal disaster. Leave. You are not allowed to speak of what happened today. Pervert, Madame Juan said again. But she was her eyes were completely focused. It's really inconvenient for me to be pregnant now. Usually, if I accidentally hurt the child, then everything I've done. The little palace maid was amazed by this. Song Qing also knew the importance now that her eyes had recovered. So he had to suppress the fire. Seemed to instantly brighten up. Okay. Although it was a common phenomenon for women to be jealous, Madame Juan, but with such beauty. Isn't there an outstanding big that the palace makes Shingun not raise the came with you? Of jealousy. You could go find her. However, Song Qing rolled his eyes. She was worried that this matter would implicate her. What are you thinking about? Her eyes. So you haven't eaten yet. Madame Juan laughed, find a chance to inform the others. But looking at her, what kind of person was If you knock on her door in the middle of the night, I guarantee with a glance, she won't refuse. He could see through her Song Qing He took out a gold medal won't she refuse, and waved it in front of her. We'll all sleep in the same emperor bed. Sent me. I don't want to take advantage This matter of her. Must be kept her secret. Identity otherwise sensitive. Be careful of your head. The reason why he resisted too many the temptations in the imperial palace was mainly and many of the aftermath were unimaginable. Firstly, even though the palace maid did not understand why the emperor would send a young man to find the incomparably Shun Bijuan was a southern Song dynasty's crown princess and what not to ask. Although the southern Song silently retreated, family determined to keep this matter still had to acknowledge her identity. Being if one day someone exposed the affair between after she Wong and the Song Qing furrowed the impact would be great. Even if the royal family palace may not hear, they would be kidnapped by public softly replied with him. Something happened to the previous. The good relationship with the southern Song dynasty, so I begged the empress to let her out of the palace, would be ruined. Although Song Qing couldn't help saying, somewhat it must have brought back your sad He had the world in his heart and made you. How could he destroy the foundation? Shin Bijuan gave a sad so many people. Isn't that so? Of course. Although something happened, you asked him to completely give up Shin Bijuan. Where's my home? Certainly be reluctant. Looking at her tearful just at the time was not right. Song Qing Madame Juan ran the world. She was a rich young lady with a perfect family background, and she guessed most of his concerns. But in the end, and no fate longer played a joke on her, tried to persuade, made her bear things that she shouldn't bear. Then I'll call pay her. It was a miracle that she hadn't broken down. Was her personal maid, Miss Shun, beautiful. Do you want to go home to see? Calling her to accompany him was perfect. Go home. Song Qing was first shook his head, and then a strange light flashed through her eyes. I'm not a beast. I don't need a woman to accompany me. Song Qing was worried about adding another layer of emotional debt. This time, even touch a beauty I have to go to Jiangnan, like and I can bring you along. So how could he can go back to the Shun family's ancestral Madame Yuan rolled her eyes and pay respect in the corner of her mouth, slightly thinking of the Shun Yuan. She already had an idea in the parents that she had at this moment before they died. A servant came in to report that Shun Xiaolong had arrived. Jiangnan, soon. I want to go back. Even in laughter could be heard. But Madame Liao's imperial friend had come to visit. Can I really leave the palace? That it was the Lord. Feeling her body sway for so long, slightly, but Shun Lian still addressed the gust of wind. Song Qing was worried that her body was too weak and overly excited. He quickly went to help her sit down and hurriedly. Since I can appear here, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Lord, I really don't know how to thank you. Is getting better. Shin Bijuan's face was slightly red. It was unknown if it was because she was excited about something she didn't even now that the world is bright and because she was shy from being touched. I'm naturally relaxed. Song Qing on the other hand, Lord Miss Shun is too. I wonder if she has encountered back then trouble. I promised your parents. It's all because I heard that the Mongolians won a great victory in the Western expedition. Shin Bijuan now that they have returned to the capital, but she knew in her heart how difficult it was to fulfill such a promise. Shin Xiaolong family has never interacted with you before. At that time, when the Mongolian cavalry invades the south, these countries in the Central Plains will fight on their own. Miss Shun, they may not be. There's no need to take it to heart. I think it will be another calamity. Although I'm not a good person, I know that there are some things that cannot be done. Saw that the atmosphere was somewhat depressing. Otherwise, she smiled. It will be difficult to escape the condemnation. In any case, there are still a few countries in the north. Brother song. If you're not a good person, then there are no good people in the world. This time the Lord has racked her brains and decided the contrast between the people of the Southern Song dynasty and how they behaved. You will know when you see it. She was filled with emotion for a moment. Madame Rouen pursed her lips, Brother Song smiled. Didn't I tell you before that? She then ordered a servant to invite Shun Bijun. Not long after, just call me Shun Bijun leisurely after saying this. Her originally pale, saw the peerless beauty enter the door. It had to be known that she was not like the children of John. Then revealed she was a young lady from a noble family. His voice was somewhat rich families paid Bijun the most attention to rules. Seeing a unless it was her parents, Shun Bijun was obviously also she couldn't just let anyone call her by cousin brother. For her to take the initiative to tell another man again, you two are really interested. If this spread, you haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. Many people still recognize each other. Song Qing-shu wasn't someone who was inflexible. Since childhood, hearing her say Bijun has been so beautiful and closed the distance grows between them. She will obviously be a beauty that can cause the downfall in the future. At the same time, when I see the food on the table, there's a familiar Qing-shu smile. If she isn't younger sister, Bijun, who else could it be? You have to eat more to nourish your body. Also nodded. Otherwise, when I see her, you won't be able to withstand the feeling of the blood connection. Then it seems that there is no need for me to introduce her. Okay, I'll eat now. Song Qing-shu smiled. She didn't have much an appetite. Suddenly bowed, but for some reason, when she saw Song Qing-shu, the Lord for lending taking her back to Jiangnan, so that our Shun family's world had become more colorful. Song Qing-shu began to rumble with hunger. We are all family. Song Qing-shu suddenly remembered that the food was delivered alongside. His brows, brother and sister are indebted to the Lord some other food and bring it over. In this life, even if we work like an ox or a horse, after all, we will not be able to repay. This is the goodwill Wan Xingzhu, who was at the side. Don't disappoint them. There is nothing difficult to repay. I remember that Miss Shun and the Lord are a perfect match. When did your offering start to decrease? Notice the way his cousin Shun Bijun shook her head. Brother he understood most. There's no need to pursue. He smiled. Not bad, not bad. The people in the palace are all pitiful. If Uncle knew in any case, younger sister I am about such a good husband, so there is no need to cause trouble. He would definitely be very happy. Shun Bijun immediately blushed. Chapter 1902. She couldn't help when Shun Bijun ate. Brother, she didn't show her teeth and only tasted as the saying goes. Song Qing-shu couldn't help but laugh. Now, the ancients said that beauty is a feast as her elder brother. I never understood what decision for my younger sister. But now that I see Bijun eat, the reason why I finally understand the true Wan Xingzhu's words and made the decision for this put down her chopsticks was because he felt that his younger sister's family had died. Brother Song is making fun of me again. She needed the protection of picked up a chopsticks to nourish and put a lot of food in her bowl. Song Qing-shu, I'm just no matter how one looked at it, was a perfect match. How can you eat your fill like this? The only flaw was that looking at the small mountain of rice in front of her. However, Shun Bijun had a difficult expression. This was only a small matter. I really can't eat this much. Secondly, he was also somewhat unsure about his cooperation on our Song Qing-shu. Song Qing-shu wasn't advising abandoned the royal family for no reason. Southern Song looking at Shun Bijun's if something went wrong with his cooperation, he was truly worried that her body it would be difficult to hold up to move forward. Time was of the essence. If he could solidify their relationship, and he couldn't waste more time. Why wouldn't he do it? I'm not as frail as you think. Of course. All of this was built on the basis that she had been captured from Jiangnan to the If it wasn't for her loving hadn't she managed to endure her days wouldn't have made such a proposal. Noticing the stubbornness although Song Qing-shu had some misgivings about Shun Bijun's sensitive identity. Now this time, come to this, it's much farther than when you went from Jiangnan to it would be easy. We have to go to Sichuan first, thus, and then follow the river to Jiangnan. If Bijun doesn't mind, a few thousand li, then let me take care of her for the rest of her life. Moreover, Bijun bit her lip, time to rest her heart in a mess. How can we not rest well? She had her own pride. We still have to go to Sichuan. She didn't want to marry Song Qing-shu, flashed through so many Bijun's eyes. However, asked in during this period of time, Song Qing-shu their relationship had taken another. Do you have an older brother called? She really couldn't imagine marrying someone else. Shun Bijun exclaimed. A woman's modesty. He was expelled from the Shun family when I was very young. But she was also worried that I don't actually remember this opportunity. But I once heard she would miss out on the because I ran into him a few months ago and coincidentally found out everything is up. He was also a member of the Shun family. How about we hold a wedding promised him that I would bring you to see him, consummate our marriage. Song Qing-shu answered. Wan Xingzhu teased. Eldest brother, is he still well? Shun Bijun's voice trembled. She had always thought that the Shun family had been exterminated and that she was alone in this world. Shun Bijun now that she knew she still had she wanted to run. How could she not know where to go? Shun Qing-shu replied with a smile, but Bijun's identity is a problem. But now
the Southern
Song
Song
Court
Court
hears
hears
about
about
this.
this,
As for the
it will be
specifics,
troublesome.
I'll tell you
Song
slowly on the
Qing-shu
way.
was startled.
Shin
He didn't
Bijun was a
expect
cold person
Shun
and
Xiaolong
quickly
to
guessed the
realize
truth.
this as well.
He must have
Noticing
received
his
brother
expression
Song helped to turn
Shun
the situation
Xiaolong
around.
said,
It wasn't
easy
easy
for
for
our
our
Shun
Shun
family
I
to
did
have a
help
crown
him,
princess.
but he also helped me.
How could I not know
It's a
about such a
win-win
big
situation.
thing?
It's just
Shun
that all
Bijun
sorts of
sighed.
things happen.
Big brother
causing
Song,
my poor
I
sister's
really don't know
life
how to
to be
repay
filled
the
with
kindness
misfortune.
you've shown my Shun
Wan
family.
Xingzhu comforted.
Song Qing-shu
Sister
couldn't
couldn't
help
help but
but
think of a
over.
joke from his past
She
life.
found a good lover like Lord.
She
It
can't
seems
be the
that by
crown
June
princess,
thinks I'm ugly.
but your Shun
Shun
family
Bijun
has a
was
princess.
startled.
Why does
His
not a
brother
princess
Song
say
say
that?
that?
Shin
Song
Xiaolong
shook
shook his head,
subconsciously
causing Wan
replied,
Xingzhu's
in
heart
stories
to
where the
skip a beat.
hero saves
After
the
all,
damsel in distress,
she had deliberately
if the
avoided
man
the
is very
fact
handsome,
that Song
the maiden
Qing
will often
already
say,
had a wife.
Gongzi's
Hearing him
great
say
kindness.
this,
Did he mind?
this maiden is
She was a
unable
married
to
woman
repay
and
it,
naturally didn't
and can
care
only
about
devote
such
her life
things.
to you.
But the
If
young
the
miss
man
of
is
the Shun
ugly,
family was
the maiden
pure
will say,
and had higher
Gongzi's
standards.
great
Shin
kindness.
Xiaolong looked at
This
Song
maiden is
Qing-shu
unable to
and
repay
slowly
it,
said,
and can only repay
I feel
it
that our
by
Shun
being an
family
ox
will have
or
an
a horse in
imperial
the next life.
concubine in the future.
What kind of girl is
Song
so
Qing-shu raised
shameless?
his eyebrows.
Thank
Shin
you for your
Bijuan's
auspicious
face
words.
instantly
If I can
turned
unify
red.
the world
She didn't
one
know what
day,
to say.
I will
Song
definitely make
Qing-shu
your
regretted
sister
it
an
as
imperial
soon as he
concubine.
blurted it out.
Shin
He really
Xiaolong
couldn't
laughed.
change his
That's great.
flirtatious nature.
Uncle and
In
aunt's
his past
spirits
life,
in heaven,
this kind of
must be able to
teasing
rest
was
in peace.
very normal.
I will also
and women
follow
wouldn't take it
Lord
seriously
and become a
Instead,
fountain general.
it would liven up
when the time
atmosphere.
comes. I will bring
However,
glory
this
to
world
our
was
Shun
much more
family.
conservative.
The two
so
men
this kind of
clasped their
teasing
hands
was a bit
tightly.
frivolous.
This moment
Sure
was
enough,
a marriage alliance.
Shun Bijuan's
and also
rosy
vow
little
for the
mouth
future.
opened a few
Next,
times
Wan
as if she
Xingzhu
wanted to
found
say
someone to
something,
prepare a
but
table
then hesitated.
full of food.
Song
and
Qing-shu
wine.
hastily
Wine
said,
can make the atmosphere
I just like
more
to joke
lively,
around,
and was
don't
the
take it to
best
heart,
weapon to get
Bijuan.
closer to each
Once you
other.
get to know me better,
Song Qing-shu
you'll know how bad I
and
am.
Shun
He was also
Xiaolong
very
quickly
helpless.
discussed how to deal
Now that he was
with
in a
the
relationship,
sensitive status of
he
the
didn't
crown
have the
princess.
mood to flirt anymore.
They would first hide it from
Moreover,
the Southern Song.
his mind
as
had been
much as
filled with
possible.
thoughts of
And
how
when
to
they were
deal
fully
with the
fledged,
Mongols' invasion.
they would hold
He
a
didn't have time to
grand
think about
wedding
relationships.
for Shun Bijuan.
But this kind of
Shun
behavior was
Bijuan's
hard
face
to avoid
was
being
red the
misunderstood
entire
by
time.
others.
The knot in her
Shun
heart had been
Bijun
unraveled,
quietly nodded,
and she felt
she really
like
didn't
she
know how
was
to
in a
respond to
dream.
this kind of topic.
She naturally did
Song
whatever they said.
Qing-shu continued.
Moreover, I'll be
She didn't have
watching
the
you
face
face
to
to
say
say anything,
and I'm
at
sure
this
you'll be
time.
too embarrassed
Hearing
to
that she
eat.
wanted to go back
How
to
about
Shaoxing
this?
to
I
pay
still have some
respects
things
her
to take care
parents.
of.
Shun
I'll come pick you up in
Xiaolong
2
choked
days.
with sobs.
You should also
and said,
prepare.
I also want to
Seeing
go
him
back with
leave
you
like
to
he
see
was
the
running
Shun
away,
Garden,
but I
Shun
really can't
Bijuan,
leave here.
who
The
hadn't
Southern
been
Song
happy in a
Court
long
has no
time,
choice
couldn't
but to
help
allow me to
smile.
stay in Sichuan.
She thought to herself,
if I leave their headquarters,
why are you running away?
They will definitely
I'm
take
not
the
blaming
opportunity
you.
to replace
And how
me.
could I not know
Based
the
on
rules
their
of marriage?
bottomless style,
However,
they might even send
she
someone
thought
to
about
get
how
rid
she had
of
been
me
kidnapped
to
from
prevent future
Jiangnan
troubles
and stayed with a man
Shin
for such a
Bijun
long
replied,
time.
Big
Her
brother,
reputation had
you have to be
probably been
careful.
tarnished in the eyes of others. Furthermore, she had later become
While I was
a
in
concubine,
Liao,
the
of
Imperial
Emperor
City
Liao,
Department's people.
although
Although
she was
kill me.
pure,
I don't
she'd
want you
stayed
to
in the
repeat
palace for
the
so
same
long.
mistake. Even if her
None of the
parents
people
were
with the
alive,
surname Zhao
they wouldn't
are
believe
good
that
people.
nothing had happened. Shun
Song
Xiaolong
Qing-shu
cursed,
returned to his bedroom,
especially when he
Su
thought
Quan
of
raised her
how the
eyebrows.
Shun family had been
Why are you back
loyal
so
and
early?
devoted for generations.
Song
Only to end
Qing-shu
up
was
with
a bit
such a
confused.
miserable ending. Su
The
Quan
more he
pursed her
thought
lips
about
into
it,
a smile.
the more furious
I thought
he
you at
became.
least spend the night
Wan
at her
Xingzhu
place.
was also
Song
reminded of something
Qing-shu
sad.
was speechless.
Didn't Prime
In your
Minister
heart,
Han
Em,
also work
are that
hard
kind
for
of
the
person?
court?
In the
Otherwise,
end, he didn't
Su
die
Quan
in the
giggled.
hands of the genes.
Don't say that you
but
aren't
was
interested
killed by
in
his
that
own
great
people.
beauty.
Not only
As a
did the
woman,
emperor not care,
I can't help
but he
but
also
marvel
promoted
at
the
her beauty when I
mastermind
see
to
her.
replace Prime Minister Han. My poor
It's just
husband,
that she has
also
always been
worked hard
raised
for
in
the
a
country,
boudoir.
but because
So
he
her
wasn't
reputation
Jia
isn't
Shidao's
prominent.
man,
If
he
she
was
was
someone
also
from
killed by his
Jianghu,
own people.
I'm afraid
Has
the
the court
title of
ever
number
done
one
justice
beauty
for them?
in Jianghu,
Seeing that
would
she
have
was
changed
getting more
hands.
and more sad.
Miss Shun is indeed
Song Qing-shu
beautiful.
hurriedly
Song
comforted her.
Qing-shu
Madam,
expressed
please
his
take
deep
care of
agreement.
yourself.
However,
Don't hurt the baby.
When a woman was
Wan
beautiful to a
Xingzhu
certain degree,
smiled sweetly.
It was difficult
Her
to
eyes were
distinguish
filled
who
with
was
tears,
superior in terms
but
of
her
appearance
face
and
was
figure.
very charming.
Things like status and temperament were the most
I
important.
met young master
Sukwon
who did
giggled.
justice for me.
Do you want me to call
This
her
cup
over to
is for
serve
you.
in bed now?
Song
In any
Qing-shu
case,
hesitated
she
and
is the
said,
emperor's
"You
weak
are also
concubine.
pregnant.
Serving in
Wan
bed
Xingzhu
is your duty."
smiled and said,
Song
"This
Qing-shu
cup is
jumped
specially
upright.
prepared for
Don't
me.
act recklessly.
It's fine."
Look at her
Only then
haggard
did Song
appearance.
Qing-shu
After
clink his cup with
experiencing
hers
great joy
and drank the
and then
strong
suddenly
liquor in his cup.
experiencing great sorrow,
Prime Minister Han,
it's
and
very
I are
likely
also
that she'll be
friends.
so frightened
He fell
that she'll
into
commit
such a
suicide.
situation,
Which
which made
still
me
feel
feel
boring.
a little disappointed.
Aren't you getting nervous
Don't
now?
worry.
I will
Sukwon
definitely
curled her
give him
lips
justice
and
in the
smiled
future.
like a fox.
Shun Xiao,
Song Qing-shu,
who was on the side,
sternly
saw
said,
every move.
"If it
of
was
the
any
two.
other innocent
he was not a
person,
fool.
I
How could
would
he
have
not
done
see
the
the
same.
ambiguous
All right,
relationship between the
You're a
two?
gentleman.
Moreover,
Okay?
There were
Sukwon
many rumors
smiled
about the child
and came over to
Madame
hold his
Ruan's
hand.
belly. It's getting
Now
late.
he suddenly understood.
Why don't we rest?
However,
Song
he didn't think there was anything
didn't know
wrong
whether
with
to
it.
laugh
Instead,
or cry.
he was a little
He said that I
relieved.
came back early.
After all,
Suquan's
he was a
face
little
rarely
worried about
turned
whether
red.
Madame
I
Ruan
missed you.
would betray him
One day
or
without
not.
seeing you
Now
feels
that
like
everyone
3
had a
years,
tacit
but
understanding,
alone, their
I haven't
relationship
seen you
was
for
more
so long.
stable. Hearing Madame Ruan's words, Shun Xiaolong
Chapter
gradually
1903.
recalled something sad.
Song Qingshu
Our
was a
Shun
man
family has
and
been
a normal
miserable
man at that.
Originally,
He immediately
I
picked
wanted
her
to
up
send troops to
and carried her to
Jiangnan to
bed.
seek
Suquan
justice from
smiled
the emperor.
coquettishly
Unfortunately,
and hooked her arms
I know
around
that
his
with my
neck.
strength,
At the same
I can't
time,
fight to
she
Jiangnan.
pulled down the curtain
So,
beside the bed.
I need the help of my
Soon,
lord to
a sobbing
redress
and
the
complaining
injustice
voice
of
came from
dozens
the room.
of people.
It
in
made
the Shun
people
family.
blush and their hearts
Song
beat
Qingshu
faster.
sternly
When they woke
said,
up the next day,
Brother Shun,
Suquan said a
please
few
rest
words
assured,
to him in a day.
now that I am the son-in-law of the
back
Shun
into
family.
a sweet sleep.
The Shun
Song
family's matter
Qingshu
is
kissed
my
her
matter.
forehead.
Naturally,
Then got up,
I am duty
packed
bound.
his clothes.
These
and
words
left the
made
bedroom.
Shun Xiaolong
The two of them
laugh.
spent the whole
How
night
could I forget
saying
this?
their goodbyes.
Speaking of
After
which,
lingering for
I am
most
still
of the
your
night,
brother-in-law.
Suquan's whole
Song
body was
Qingshu
limp like
raised
a
his
ball
cup
of
of
mud.
wine.
She
and
was
said with a
already
smile,
exhausted.
A toast to
Song
brother-in-law.
Qingshu didn't want to disturb
Hearing
her.
this form of address,
After leaving the bedroom,
Shun Xiaolong
Song
laughed
Qingshu
until
also
the
felt a
eyebrows
little
and
weak
beard
in
on
his
his
legs,
face were almost
even though his body
squeezed
was made of
together.
iron.
He couldn't support himself after being completely
cup must be
immersed
drunk.
in Zhao Min
Ha!
and Su
The two
Quan,
quickly drank
two
several
naturally
cups of wine.
seductive women.
Song
If it
Qingshu
wasn't for the
took
special
advantage of a
cultivation
gap
technique that
and
can
quietly
quietly
pulled
pulled
Shen
Shen Bijuan's
Bijuan's
hand
hand
beside
beside him.
energy,
Are you
I'm
relieved
afraid
now?
I would have
Yes,
died a
Shen
long time
Bijuan
ago.
subconsciously
Song
wanted to withdraw her
Qingshu
hand.
smiled bitterly.
Unfortunately,
Outsiders were
she didn't
envious of his
succeed
good luck with
even
women.
after several
But how could they
attempts.
know the hardships
Worried
he
that
had
the
gone
movement would be
through?
too big
Of course,
and attract other
these words
people's
would be
attention.
even more
She
annoying
blushed
if they were told.
and let him hold her hand.
It was no wonder
Do you
that
feel
since
that you were
ancient
very
times,
stupid before?
most emperors
Song
had short
Qingshu
lives.
asked with a smile.
With so many
Yes.
concubines in the
Shen
3
Bijuan
palaces
didn't
and 6
understand.
courtyards,
That night,
it would be unreasonable
Song
to
Qingshu
not
smiled
die
a
of
little
exhaustion.
strangely.
When Song
Don't bring it up.
Qingshu arrived
Shen
at the cold
Bijuan
palace,
was embarrassed.
Shen Bijuan had
She
already
wanted
finished
nothing
washing
more
up
than to dig
and
a
was
hole
sitting
in
in
the
the
ground
courtyard
and
watering
hide in it.
flowers. Now that
She was
thought
different from
about
before.
it, she didn't
Now,
understand why
her
she
eyes
had
were as
done
bright
such an absurd
as the
thing.
stars.
She had
As
always
if they
been
were
a
a
well-behaved
well-behaved
young
young
miss
miss.
any time. But now she had
Although
taken
Song
the initiative
Qingshu
to
had
gone through a
undress in
day
front of
and
him.
night of fierce
She
battle.
felt that she must
He
have
was
been
still amazed
possessed.
by the beauty of the
What's
woman
wrong?
in front of him.
Shen Xiaolong
He thought
heard
to
the
himself
commotion
that it
and
was no
asked
wonder Su
curiously.
Quan
In
said
nothing.
last night
Shen
that she
Bijuan's
wanted
face
to
was
squeeze
completely
him dry,
red,
so
she
that
was
he
too
wouldn't have
embarrassed
any
to even
thoughts
tell her
about this
biological
troublesome
parents
woman on
about
the way.
this.
Brother
So how could
Song,
she tell her brother?
you're here? Song
Seeing
Qingshu
Song
explained,
Qingshu's arrival,
I'm just asking
Shen
her if she
Bijuan
wants to
was a
have
little
boys or
surprised,
girls in the
but
future.
more than that,
Shen
she was
Bijuan's
pleasantly
heart
surprised.
jumped, and her
Originally,
face became
I planned to
even
leave
redder.
in 2 days.
She couldn't help but
after
pout.
thinking about it,
Big brother
I think it's
Song,
better to
Shen
leave
Xiaolong
as soon as
laughed when he
possible.
heard this. Song Qingshu
What's there to
smiled.
hesitate about?
No one
Just
knew
give
when the
birth to
Mongolians
7
would come
or
south.
8 children.
It was better
If you
to
give
hurry.
birth to a few boys
Anyway,
and girls,
Su
you
Quan
won't
could
have
take
to
care
worry
of
about
Liao.
choosing.
After a
Shen
pause,
Bijuan finally
Song
couldn't take
Qingshu
it
said,
anymore.
Do you want
Big
to pack your
brother,
luggage now?
I'm not a pig.
Shen
Ruan
Bijuan
Qingshu
was
startled.
was the one who
We're
helped
leaving
her
now.
out. Don't
Why?
scare the little girl.
You still don't want to leave this
With little
place?
sister Shun's
Song
delicate
Qingshu
body,
teased.
wouldn't it kill
Of
her to
course
give
not.
birth to
Shen
7
Bijuan
or 8
blushed.
children? I just
Shen
can't believe that I
Bijuan
can leave
snorted.
this cage.
Big sister won.
However, you're making
She had
fun
no
of me
time
too.
to lament about
All right,
this
all
right
right
now.
The men should
go drink.
complicated
Let's
expression
have
on
some
her
intimate
face
talk.
was quickly
Ruan
replaced by
Qingshu
excitement.
pulled her to the side.
I don't have much
and
to two
attacked.
women began to whisper. Song Qingshu and Shun Xiaolong continued to drink with each other. They were getting more and more excited. One had experienced the baptism of high-purity alcohol in the future, while the other was half Jianghu and half military. Both of them were good at drinking, so they were truly evenly matched. Song Qingshu didn't use his power to dispel the alcohol. That would be cheating. He was using his own alcohol tolerance to drink with him. If he couldn't get drunk every time, then drinking would be too boring. In the end, Ruan Qingshu looked at the 2 men who were lying on the table and muttering to themselves. Drink, drink, drink. Are you drunk to this extent? Nothing will happen to them, right? Shen Bijuan looked worriedly at the 2 of them. One was her only family, and the other was her future husband. She didn't want any harm to come to either of them. Ruan Qingshu was an experienced person, so she had a lot of experience in this area. Don't worry, they'll be fine after some sleep. She then called over a few servants to bring Shun Xiaolong to his room to rest. When it was Song Qingshu's turn, she felt a bit awkward. She originally wanted wanted to take care of him herself, but in front of Shin Bijuan, a married woman like her was too embarrassed to say it out loud. In addition, she was pregnant, so she was very tired after enduring so late. She decided to hand him over to the other party. Little Sister Shan, I'll send someone to keep an eye on General Shan. I'll leave Prince Song to you. Me? Shin Bijuan was a bit flustered. Since she was going to take care of him, she clearly had to stay by his side for the entire night. Although the two of them had just gotten married, they weren't married yet. This was a bit inappropriate. Of course, this was also because they were in front of other people. If it was just the two of them, Shun Bijuan wouldn't care about this. It was just that there were other people present, and the education she had received since she was young made her feel a bit embarrassed. Ruan Xingzhu moved closer to her ear and whispered, Prince Song is a bit dishonest when he's drunk. If I send a few maids to serve him, I'm worried that he'll carelessly bully those maids when he's drunk. He doesn't want to carry too many debts of love. When he wakes up tomorrow, he'll definitely regret it. But with his sense of responsibility, he won't be irresponsible. Little sister, you probably don't want to see him so distressed, right? Shin Bijuan thought that Song Qingshu wasn't just dishonest when he was drunk, he was also dishonest when he slept. Hearing her words, she really didn't want to see her lover sleep with another woman right after they were engaged. But what if he bullied her at night? As if she had seen through her apprehension, Ruan Xingzhu said meaningfully, As your elder sister, let me tell you something. Sometimes it's better for a woman to take the initiative. There are many outstanding women around him. If you don't grasp the opportunity, you'll definitely regret it in the future. Madame Ruan was a businesswoman. The concept of making good connections was deeply imprinted in her bones. Although she didn't want to fight for status, it would definitely be good to get close to some people as much as possible in the future. Moreover, she and Shun Xiaolong were both in Sichuan. Shin Bijuan was naturally her ally, so she deliberately reminded her. Thank you, sister. Shin Bijuan wasn't stupid. She naturally heard the kindness in her words. Since it was like this, she naturally couldn't refuse and could only endure her shyness and agree. Seeing this, Madame Ruan smiled and said, Little sister, you're also travel-worn today. I'm afraid you're a bit tired. Later, I'll send someone to prepare a bucket of hot water for you to take a good bath. Shin Bijuan's expression was strange. She thought, I want to take care of Brother Song, but you wanted to take a bath in the same room. Chapter 1914. As if seeing through her thoughts, Ruan Xingzhu smiled and said, Don't worry, he's sleeping like a dead pig. You can take some time to take a bath and also look after him. Why not? I'll okay. Shin Bijuan thought it made sense and agreed. Ruan Xingzhu yawned and couldn't hide the tiredness on her face. I'm a bit tired. I'll leave everything to little sister. Shin Bijuan nodded with a red face and sent her off. Then, she looked at Song Qingshu, who was sleeping soundly on the bed. She felt like she was in a dream. She didn't think that her marriage would be decided in the time it took to eat a meal. She still hadn't come back to her senses. Thinking about how the man in front of her had become her man, this feeling was very strange. But one thing was for sure. She now had an inexplicable sense of security. She no longer had the feeling of being alone and abandoned by the whole world. She wrung a towel and wiped Song Qingshu's face. Then, she took off her shoes and socks. It took a lot of effort to get under the blanket. She couldn't help but sweat. At this time, the maids had already prepared the hot water for the bath. Looking at the steaming bathtub, Shun Bijuan was a bit tempted. However, when she looked at the man on the bed, she hesitated. Seeing that Song Qingshu was sleeping soundly, she couldn't resist the uncomfortable feeling of sweat on her body. She decided to take a quick bath. A woman's modesty made her find a screen to block the front of the bathtub. She opened her dress, revealing her jade-like skin, snow-white breasts, and slender legs. She suddenly thought of that night when she tried to make a deal and offered herself to sleep with him. At that time, she had also stripped like this. So shameful. Shin Bijuan covered her burning face and hurriedly shrunk back into the bathtub. It was as if only the warm water around her could calm her surging emotions. Even though she knew she had to finish the bath as soon as possible, it was hard for a woman to resist the temptation of a bath. Lying in the water, she felt as if her soul had relaxed, especially when she smelled the flower petals and felt the water flowing through her skin There was nothing more pleasurable than this. Suddenly, a vague voice came from beside the bed. Shinbijuan jumped in fright and hurriedly shrunk back into the water, only revealing her head. Water, water! After a long time, she finally heard what Song Qing-shu was muttering. Shinbijuan knew that drunk people were very thirsty and regretted not feeding him first. She wasn't even wearing clothes, so how could she give him water? Water, water! The other's voice became more urgent. Shinbijuan couldn't bear to keep him thirsty. She quickly got out of the bathtub and put on a dress before pouring a glass of water and bringing it to the bed. Brother Song, drink. Shinbijuan half squatted by the bed and gently called. Song Qing-shu gulped down 3 cups of wine in a row before he finally stopped. Shinbijuan gently placed his head on the pillow and laughed inwardly. He's usually so handsome, but now he's like a child. I actually had an erotic dream. Suddenly, Song Qing-shu rubbed his eyes in a daze. Shinbijuan was startled and didn't understand what was going on. At this time, Song Qing-shu reached out and grabbed her chest. Miss Shin always pays attention to her appearance. How could you wear something so revealing in front of me? It feels quite real. Shinbijuan was so embarrassed that she immediately pushed him away. She was a bit angry, but she noticed that Song Qing-shu had turned over and fallen asleep again. She knew that he was talking in his sleep after being drunk, so her anger gradually dissipated. This person, he's still dishonest even when he's drunk. Shinbijuan gently bit her lip. The skin on her face seemed to be smeared with rouge. She suddenly felt that Madame Ruan's previous words had been prescient. If she had sent a little maid to serve him, maybe she would really have been dragged to the bed by him. After covering Song Qing-shu with the blanket again, Shinbijuan suddenly felt uncomfortable all over. It turned out that she had rushed out to pour water for him and hadn't had time to dry herself before putting on her clothes. Now her clothes were stuck to her skin, and it was even more uncomfortable than when she had been drenched in sweat. I washed up for nothing. Shinbijuan stamped her feet, but looking at her lover's sleeping appearance, she couldn't get angry. She could only go back behind the screen, take off her clothes, and run into the bathtub again. After an unknown amount of time, Shinbijuan suddenly heard movement again. She looked back and found a figure staggering towards her. She couldn't help but jump in fright and hastily shrunk under the water, only exposing her eyes to observe the movement outside. Soon, Song Qing-shu staggered to the side and fumbled around in the corner for a while. Then, there was a fierce sound of water. Shinbijuan was angry and amused at the same time. It turned out that he had drunk too much water and was now peeing. Ever since she was young, she had been taught not to look at indecent things. She had to avoid even women, let alone a man who was relieving himself. She hurriedly turned her head away, but the other party's movements were too loud. That impassioned sound of water continuously traveled into her ears, causing her heart to be in a mess. If it was in the past, let alone seeing a man peeing, she would find it hard to hide her disgust. But now, aside from panic and bashfulness, she didn't feel any disgust. She, who was proficient in music, could even faintly hear the melody of the general's order. Just what am I thinking? Shinbijuan's entire body softened. This truly went against the code of conduct of a virtuous woman. She hastily gathered her thoughts and stopped listening to that blushing sound. I don't know if he's awake or not. If he sees me like this, Shinbijuan suddenly realized a serious problem. The reason she had taken a bath here was because of Ruan Xingzhu's instigation, and also because the man in the room was still drunk, yet he had woken up at night. Big Brother Song probably doesn't know I'm here. Shinbijuan realized this and gradually calmed down. As long as he didn't see her, when he woke up tomorrow, he probably wouldn't know what had happened tonight. Thinking of the other person's martial arts, she didn't even dare to show her eyes. When she sensed that the other person was about to finish peeing, she slowly sank into the water, preparing to wait for him to go back to bed before coming out. Song Qing-shu staggered over. He first grabbed the teapot and drank a mouthful of tea. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eyes, he noticed the bathtub on the side. Madame Ruan, also prepared a bathtub for me? Shin Bijuan hadn't helped him take off his clothes because of her shyness. At this moment, Song Qing-shu felt tipsy. His whole body was a bit hot, and he felt that the clothes on his body were a bit smelly. When he saw the steaming bathtub, he planned to take a bath first before going back to sleep. His whole body was still hung over, and his mind wasn't very bright. He didn't notice the dress on the side screen. In addition, there was a thick layer of flower petals floating on the surface of the water, so he couldn't clearly see the situation under the water. Chapter 19:15. Song Qing-shu was also startled and instantly sobered up. At that moment, a series of bubbles appeared on the surface of the water, followed by the sound of splashing. Shin Bijuan was so scared that she instinctively screamed when he touched her body. However, she was in the water, and as soon as she screamed, she drank even more water, causing her to choke. She struggled to stand up, but the more flustered she was, the easier it was for her to make mistakes. Her feet slipped several times in the basin, and after struggling for a long time, she still couldn't stand up. It looked like she was about to become the first beauty to drown in the bathtub. Song Qing-shu finally recovered and quickly reached out to help her up. "Are you all right?" I'm fine." Shin Bijuan's chest heaved up and down as she finally breathed in fresh air. She never thought the air would taste so good. However, this made things difficult for Song Qing-shu. Looking at the white water in front of him, he was even worried that he would have a nosebleed. Sensing his strange gaze, Shin Bijuan looked down and almost fainted. She quickly covered her chest with her hands and shrunk back into the water. Only her embarrassed and angry face could be seen. "You, hurry up and close your eyes." Song Qing-shu smiled. "It's not the first time I've seen it. Why are you so excited?" Of course, although he said that, he still closed his eyes like a gentleman. Shin Bijuan was speechless. She remembered that she had indeed taken off her clothes in front of him before, and that they had slept together more than once. Although nothing had actually happened, there was no need for such a big reaction. But was she really going to let him see it? The girl's modesty almost made Shin Bijuan faint. Originally, the best strategy was to quickly get out of the tub and put on her clothes when the other person closed his eyes. However, if the other person opened his eyes halfway, then she wouldn't have any secrets left. Just thinking about this kind of thing was hard for a lady to accept. But was she going to stay in the bathtub like this? The bathtub wasn't big to begin with. If she moved a little, she would be able to touch him. Staying in there was even more unladylike. She really didn't know what to do. Her mind was blank, and she didn't know what to do. Song Qing-shu broke the silence. "Bijuan, are you panicking right now?" Shin Bijuan rolled her eyes at him and didn't even bother replying to such an obvious question. Any woman would be flustered in this kind of situation. Actually, you don't have to be so worried. Although Song Qing-shu didn't open his eyes, he could sense her uneasiness through her aura. Shin Bijuan didn't understand. Shouldn't she be worried? Song Qing-shu said softly, "Bijuan, have you forgotten our relationship? We're already engaged, but we haven't really gotten married yet." Shin Bijuan finally opened her mouth and replied with a red face. In this society, even if they were already engaged, as long as they hadn't bowed to their parents, men and women couldn't have the slightest bit of improper behavior. Our relationship is already as close as a real husband and wife. Why should we care about these red tape? Song Qing-shu said. But, although Shin Bijuan felt that what he said was reasonable, she was still educated in the ways of a woman, so she was still a bit upset. If this was any other time, Song Qing-shu would have found an excuse to smooth things over, since she was the crown princess. However, he was drunk right now, and he wasn't as calm and rational as he usually was. Seeing the beautiful woman in front of him not knowing what to do and looking so shy and weak, he couldn't help but feel a strong urge to protect her. His body seemed to be working faster than his brain. His hand involuntarily reached out and grabbed her slender waist, pulling her into his embrace. He secretly praised the soul-stirring softness. "If you still have doubts, how about we bow to the heavens right now?" She was so scared that she was about to cry out when he suddenly hugged her. But after hearing his words, she couldn't help feeling moved. "Bow to the heavens and earth," Song Qing-shu said. "The heavens are above, the earth is below. No matter if I am rich or poor, in sickness or in health, in good or bad times, I will love her and spoil her. When she needs me the most, I will not abandon her. I will not leave her for eternity." Although this was a common oath in the future, when had the Shun Bijuan of this world ever heard such a bold and avant-garde confession? No matter how virtuous a woman was, she couldn't resist the words of love from her lover. Hearing his oath, she felt like she was in a dream, and tears unconsciously fell. She said with a choked voice, "Brother Song." Song Qing-shu was startled and quickly wiped away the tears on her face. "Why are you crying?" No. Shin Bijuan was going to wipe away her tears, but when she raised her hand, she found that it was inappropriate. She hurriedly covered her chest. "It's just that when I think of the nightmarish experience this past year, I was like a lonely star abandoned by the world. In the future, there will be someone in this world who will protect me and pity me. I can't believe that all of this is real." Song Qing-shu didn't say anything. He lowered his head and kissed her tender lips. Shin Bijuan hadn't expected him to suddenly attack. She froze, but thinking that he was her lover, she slowly closed her eyes and her body quickly softened. After a long time, their lips parted. Song Qing-shu smiled and said, "Everything else might be fake, but this passionate kiss is real." Annoying, Shin Bijuan couldn't help but hit him on the chest. That scene of movement and stillness was a feast for the eyes of the man across from her. Wine was the medium of sex. Looking at the beautiful young woman whose skin was pink from embarrassment or from the hot water, Song Qing-shu felt his entire body heat up. At this time, the worries of the crown princess and the difficult future instantly disappeared. At this time, he just wanted to completely possess this number one beauty that had been raised in her boudoir. Being held in the other's arms, Shun Bijuan could clearly feel the pressure of the man in front of her. Although she had never experienced anything like this before, a woman's nature told her what was going to happen. She had originally had some hesitation, but after hearing the other's unique oath, it all disappeared. Soon, a storm of kisses fell on her face and neck. She was bashful and even a bit proud. It had to be said that last time, she had finally worked up the courage to use her beauty to make a deal with him. In the end, the other had remained unmoved. She, who had lived in the praise of others since she was young, had suffered a great setback. Song Qing-shu, who had always been calm and restrained, had now transformed into a wild beast. This was the reaction she had been looking forward to. If Song Qing-shu knew about this, he would probably laugh at her for having Schindler syndrome. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.